Studio, in part with Huggies, all presented by FanDuel. It's time, Sam. It's our Week 9 NFL review.
Week 9.
Week 9. Last week we rolled in here on a Monday morning. We said, man, not a lot of close games. Wasn't as exciting of a weekend in Week 8.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's football, and in the offseason there will be no football, and we'll be yearning for a crappy Week 8. But relative to the rest of the weeks, it was bad.
And then this week, the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Almost every 1 o'clock game, down to the wire, the 4 o'clocks, the Chiefs, the Bills, the whole thing. We had a fun one. So a lot to get through. There was a lot to get through last week, too, even in blowouts. Just saying, this was the excitement level was a tick up. I was feeling it. Like, heart was racing in the witching hour and everything yesterday, especially for producer Will, who's in town, came in
the building.
Came in to see his Bears take on the Bengals. Didn't know what he was getting into.
What a game that was.
Yeah, but he's live in studio this time for us.
Ben in the chat is asking, how was Cincinnati traffic today? I was telling you, it was gone. There was none of it.
What happened?
I don't know. There was no traffic whatsoever this morning. Normally, you get to a couple of miles off from the junction because whoever designed the road here is an idiot, and it's backed up. Nothing today. Sailed straight through. It was glorious.
Was he asking because do you complain on the show a lot?
Probably.
Sometimes I forget our off-air versus on-air conversations. I didn't know that was a thing that everybody would be.
Was Sam's complaint on or off the air?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. The fact that he asked on a day where you rolled in and said, "Hey, there was no traffic."
It was beautiful. If it was like this every day, I'd be a happy person.
Nothing compares to the old Monday mornings when I'd hit the one Monday I hit like 12 straight greens on the way to the old PFF office.
I was saying
it was a legendary day.
I was telling Ben Stockwell. My Everest, there's a junction on the way to the coffee place, right, where they haven't synced up the lights. So when you go green, you have a block to cover for the filter lane before it goes red, and you have about 3 seconds to do it in, right? And it's impossible. It's completely impossible, but that doesn't stop me.
Not for you.
That doesn't stop me every single time gunning it and hoping I'll make the lights before they go red. Not once has it happened, nor will it ever happen. But I will still try
drive
every single
time. Drive a little faster. You'll be able to get it.
Yeah.
All right, man. Here we go. Let's do it. Week 9. It all started way back Thursday night.
Oh, God.
The Baltimore Ravens.
Every time we do these, and it's like, there was a game on Thursday. I'm like, what?
Especially when it was a 28-6 game. Ravens over the Dolphins. You're like, what happened in that one?
Yeah.
Ravens moved to 3-5 with the win. Dolphins fall to 2-7. Lamar Jackson made his return, going 18 of 23 for 204 yards and 4 touchdowns. Looked semblance of the old Ravens.
Yeah.
Here.
No, they did.
Game.
They looked back, but obviously the caveat comes with against Miami, who, hung tight for a while. This was the first game, I think, where it looked like Miami quit. Because part of the remarkable thing about this season, where they've been pretty terrible for most of it, has been actually every time you think they're going to not show up and completely mail it in and quit, they don't. They fight hard and they keep going. And this has been part of why I think Mike McDaniel is currently still in a job, even though this game cost somebody their job, the GM, is that they hadn't really quit. But in the second half of this game, it looked like they tapped out for the first time. They just went no mas, rolled over and died. But the first half, they did keep in it. And honestly, they should have been ahead. They had a bunch of yards in the first half. They kept shooting themselves in the foot, whether it was with penalties or getting hosed by the officials. But, yeah, Baltimore did look absolutely back, but you have to at least throw the caveat in there of, look what they were playing.
Yeah, so I agree on the Dolphins. In the first half, I thought, remember last week they beat the Falcons, and it was one of the first weeks I thought they played with some physicality, some intensity in the run game. I thought they carried that into this game with Baltimore, where they're working downhill, they're shedding blocks, and they did play hard. And then, it just started to fall apart in the second half. That was when Derrick Henry rattled off a couple big runs. So that was where, those were the ebbs and flows of this game that felt more Ravens-like. The defense has been better the last few times out. They were pretty good in this one. You have Kyle Hamilton in and around the line of scrimmage again. That seems like that's going to be his role going forward, just making a bunch of plays. So they looked good up front, played much better defensively versus earlier in the year where they were the get-right spot for every offense, for the Chiefs, for the Texans, for every team that went up against them. And then Lamar with his he didn't even run, really. 1 or 2 runs in there. Didn't lean into him in the designed run game. Didn't need to. But that was what, he's coming off the hamstring injury, and they just said, hey, go win from the pocket for the most part, but we're going to run it. We're going to, mix it up. And it had one of his classic games where he only has 5 incompletions, but still has 4 touchdown passes.
Yeah, he looked great. I was having a back and forth with somebody in the chat of the comment section of our instant reaction thing, because Lamar has now got 14 touchdowns, 1 interception, and they're like, oh, look, it's because we've been saying, I've in particular been saying the last couple of weeks before he got hurt, he wasn't seeing the field well, and that was part of this question mark of him coming back is, does he immediately snap back into being MVP caliber Lamar, or is he still going to be in this weird funk where teams have been causing him problems the last couple of weeks? And this guy's like, look, he's got 14 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's always been playing great this season. You're like, okay, but that's just not true. It's okay to say his numbers have stacked up so that he looks great right now, but in the last 2 games against Detroit and Kansas City, the numbers aren't even good. So we can immediately say nobody thought he played well in that game. Detroit, the numbers were good, but he was sacked 7 times. And if you look at those sacks, I think PFF charged him directly for 4 of them. And they were not the kind of sacks where it's like this offensive line's just getting overwhelmed. He's got no chance. He's running for his life. There's nothing to do. They were the types of sacks where Detroit threw some pressure at him and then had a guy waiting for him to break contain, Anzalone most of the time, who then pounced on him as a QB spy, and he was panicking. He didn't really do anything smart with the ball, and he tended to keep it and take a sack. And I think it's fair to say that, look, that was the game plan was weird because they were keeping everyone in to max protect, and they only really had 3 guys out in a pattern and stuff, and there wasn't a ton of places to go with the football. You still don't need to take a sack. And, taking a sack is one of those sort of hidden negatives in the box score, where if you go back and you just look at, touchdown interception ratio or any passing number, it's not going to fall that into it. So I don't think it's an unreasonable or incorrect thing to say in the 2 games before Lamar got hurt, he wasn't looking like Lamar Jackson. And in this game, again, with the caveat of against Miami, he did. He looked back.
Completely agree. And yeah, the not looking like Lamar, he had a sack rate of 13%. If you're above
off the charts high.
If you're above 5
or
6, it's concerning.
And that's so high. That's one of those numbers again, it's quarterback versus offensive line / pass protection when it comes to sacks is always a sort of fuzzy number anyway. But that's one of those data points where when it's that high, it's not the offensive line.
Oh yeah,
at least not in large part.
He was taking those negative plays, but they were still hitting on some of those deep passes. It was just a weird Ravens offense for the first few weeks. I got to bring it up because you did the touchdown to interception ratio. Let's just all work together here to not look at it. We're in a golden age of touchdown to interception ratios.
Golden age.
So there's 16 quarterbacks right now who are 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio or better, which used to be a pretty good standard, right? If you have a year where you have 30 touchdowns and 10 picks or 24-8, it's that's pretty good. There's 16 starting quarterbacks, including Justin Fields at 5-0. But touchdown to interception ratios around the league. Jalen Hurts is 15-1. So we're
Fields is 5-0 in touchdown interception ratio.
My first tangent of the day here at 7:09 a.m. Eastern time.
One last data point to
bring it
back up the point that I was making.
Yeah.
Now look, in the game, I believe the Detroit versus Baltimore game, I believe Lamar Jackson's PFF grade was 56. Now look, PFF grades are at a bit of a low ebb right now in terms of respect throughout the NFL, thanks to ranking Geno ahead of Mahomes in a game. But his EPA for the game, total offensive EPA, which includes things like sacks, which tend to get hidden otherwise. So box score numbers, right? You could argue his game was better than Jared Goff's.
Which the Detroit game?
Yes.
Yeah.
He had more yards than Goff. He had more touchdowns, same number of interceptions, i.e. 0, better passer rating, all those kinds of things. So if you're looking at box score numbers, you'd be oh, Lamar was way better than Jared Goff. However, total offensive EPA was less than half what Jared Goff had because it includes all those sacks that he took. So I don't think you can look at that game. I don't think people were even saying he played that well in that game. It's just that when you look back at the box score, it looks great.
And that's where I'm just imploring people because of the touchdown. We're in a golden age of picking any stat you want and making a case for it.
Yeah.
And so halfway through the season, half the fan bases are saying our quarterback is MVP. Look at this number. So, like, do you think Jalen Hurts has played at an MVP caliber level this year? I'm sure Eagles fans are making the case. He's 15-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Lamar's 14-1. Stafford 21-2.
Right.
In the past, you would find one quarterback that had a 10-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Baker Mayfield's 13-2 despite throwing the ball to the defense 12 times. Jared Goff 17-3. Jordan Love 13-3. Drake May 17-4. Jaden Daniels 8-2. Mahomes 17-5. Rodgers is the same. Jackson Dart 10-3. Josh Allen 13-4. Dak and Darnold 16-5. Everybody's got a great touchdown to interception ratio.
Anyway,
if you're going to use that stat, just throwing that out there.
Broader point, Lamar Jackson was playing rough for a couple of games before he got hurt. This did seem to serve as a reset because he looked like MVP Lamar Jackson again. And as long as they have that guy, the faith that Vegas has had in them the whole way to still win the division, I think is absolutely justified. The defense has ticked better. It's still not good, but the fact that it's no longer like an absolute abomination and the worst defense we've ever seen is a positive thing for their chances of winning the division. And then, like, this game puts them right back in the mix. They've got 2 games against Pittsburgh to come, 2 games against Cincinnati. You know, the Ravens, I think, are still favorites for the division. I mean, in terms of Vegas lines. And it makes sense. I mean, They could and probably should win the division at this point. And then from Miami's point of view, they already fired Chris Greer, their GM. I think that's the most obvious casualty of, I mean, this is a rough-looking roster in a couple of major areas, and that's his job. It becomes interesting with the Mike McDaniel conversation because they now, with an interim GM and a terrible football team, they should be selling every asset of value at the trade deadline, right? That's not helping Mike McDaniel win football games down the stretch. So I don't think you should be judging him at this point forward. You almost need to make the decision now, is he your head coach going forward? Because he's probably going to look bad for the rest of the season because he's got a quarterback who's a disaster right now, and they're going to sell all of his good players. So you're only undermining your head coach from this point on. It feels pretty harsh to then be like, well, you didn't win many games down the stretch. We're going to get rid of you in the offseason.
Do you want to save the full Dolphins discussion for Wednesday? You want to start...
Yeah. We don't have time for
start
that now.
Burying teams.
That's yes.
Let's start burying teams on Wednesday. Cause of death. We'll start that on Wednesday. Dolphins will
up on the blackboard.
They're going up on the board. The Dolphins will certainly be up there. Champ Kelly is going to be the interim GM, and we'll get into some of the details on what happened there. I just want to put a bow on the Lamar Jackson discussion too. I think he's fantastic, outstanding. If he plays like he did that the other day without even needing to lean into the design run game, the Ravens are dangerous. To just reiterate what you were saying, like that's fully what I believe. But yeah, it was against the Dolphins. You got to continue to prove it week in, week out. We got no more use for Thursday night football.
So fast.
Let's go to Sunday. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Sam. They did it. Did we pull the audio from Thursday?
I hate that you predicted this. I hate it.
The Mike Tomlin game. Pittsburgh Steelers 27. Indianapolis Colts 20. Steelers forced 900 turnovers, won by 7.
I haven't checked, but I feel like I had a terrible picking week based off games like this.
I mean, I got this one, but I think it might be it. Steelers moved to 5-3. Colts to 7-2. Coming off of 2 disappointing weeks for the Steelers, where they lose to the Bengals, lose to the Packers last week on Sunday Night Football, as the season's collapsing, and the Colts are coming to town. Old school Steelers football, forcing turnovers, strip sacks, interceptions, 27-20 over the Colts.
Yeah, and it started so well for the Colts. The Steelers, they got a batted pass on like 3rd and goal at the 1 yard line. It's like, oh look, we stopped them, and then the Colts just sneaked in the touchdown immediately afterwards. You're like, the Colts they're a good football team. The Steelers went nowhere with their opening drive, punt the ball away, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a beatdown. The Colts are just better than the Steelers, and they're going to walk the way they've been all the way through the season. And then Josh Downs muffs the punt, and the Steelers are in instant red zone territory. And that was kind of the way the game was for most of it. The Colts are a better football team than the Steelers, but to offset that, they turned the ball over 6 times, some of which were farcical, some of which were really good Steelers plays. We got, like, T.J. Watt did his classic, I'm going to beat Braden Smith around the edge for the full trifecta, like sack, strip sack, fumble recovery, the whole
He always steps up when JJ's on the call.
Yeah, that was
TJ steps up when JJ's got big brothers here. Gotta prove him right because he goes to bat for me in the media.
Like TJ, I mean, he's made a career out of that. Like,
I know.
Those are the plays that TJ Watt has made more than anybody else during his career. That sort of game-changing, full house type of pass rush play. And he hadn't really done that this year. I mean, we were talking about how much of a relative disappointment he'd been compared with the rest of his career this season. And the same thing was true, really, for most of that Steelers defense. And they showed up and made the plays in this game. Daniel Jones had a couple of really rough, old Daniel Jones type of plays that he hadn't had this season. But then they also had, like, ridiculous plays where there's a batted pass from a linebacker and it bounces right in the hands of Jack Sawyer. And he's like, oh, look, turnover.
The other Kurt Warner does I love Kurt. He does his usual. He goes through the film and kind of says, hey, here's what I'm seeing. Here's the scheme problems and this and that. He noticed something that I noticed actually pretty quickly. Daniel Jones. So Jones, the interception that looked the worst is the one that he threw right to Peyton Wilson.
Yeah.
And again, it's so funny. Like
Which is different to the Peyton Wilson batted pass that ends up
different from the batted pass that goes
right
to Jack Sawyer. But let me just say this. 2 of the Colts interceptions for a team that has been running just the most efficient offense in the NFL at historic levels and has been incredible. Kurt pointed out the lack of attention to detail that maybe made Daniel Jones look a little bit worse because he threw it right to Peyton Wilson, who's supposed to be in man coverage on the running back. I think it was Taylor. And the running back was slow getting out into the route, so Peyton Wilson didn't have to go cover him. And he's just standing there over the stick route, which is being covered by someone else. Like, it wasn't even Peyton Wilson's man. And Daniel Jones goes like 1, 2, and then it's supposed to be throwback, check down for 5 yards. And he knows it's man coverage and just assumes, well, Peyton Wilson's not supposed to be there. Now, you might still not want to throw that and see it, but it was just interesting that timing in the route was off. And then the Joey Porter Jr. interception later. Similar issues where the Colts had 2 receivers running up the sideline in a similar spot, and Porter's just it wasn't even they weren't even trying to like split him or anything like that. It was just they were running to the same spot, bad spacing, bad offense, and the Steelers took advantage. Right, I'm not diminishing that, of course.
Yeah.
They took advantage. It was interesting to me that a Colts team who seemed to have all the answers. Right, Jonathan Taylor running through chasms in the middle of defenses, Daniel Jones making all the right reads and everything, and they were just not in the right spot, miscommunications, bad spacing. It was bad offense as well as Steelers defense looking really good.
It's a tough game to evaluate because by most measures, the Colts were still better.
Jeez.
I'm serious. They had more yards. Pittsburgh averaged 3.7 yards on offense, right? This game,
in part because they started one drive at the 5.
Right.
They drive started the Indy 11. And by the way, they went 4 and out. The Steelers, the Steelers offense did not take advantage. They went 4 and out from the 11, the Indy 14, and then the Indy 34 and the Indy 44. 34 and 40. 4 times in Indy territory other than the kickoff.
Jalen Warren carried the ball 16 times and averaged less than 2 yards per attempt. I don't think it's an unreasonable thing to say that this was not like a juggernaut of a Pittsburgh Steelers performance. This was a game that went Pittsburgh's way because Indianapolis turned the ball over 6 times. Now, some of those, as we said, were forced by a really good performance from a defense that had not played particularly well this season. No case in point, the T.J. Watt play, right? He had not been doing that for a lot of the season. He did it in this game. That's not a Colts failing. That's T.J. Watt just went and turned the ball over by himself, and he's done that throughout his career. He did it in this game. So credit to them for that. But you have to at least acknowledge that this Colts team was a huge part of this game going Pittsburgh's way, not Pittsburgh.
Dome team, man. Dome team. You get in the Midwest in November. And it's tough. I told you it's different. It's just different. Steelers, it was...
You think this was them showing up as fraudulent because they had to play outside?
I think it's easy. Daniel Jones, he had a couple open deep balls. He missed them. He doesn't miss those in the dome. It's different. Ball travels different, man. It's different. So to go back to my Thursday prediction or suggestion, I miss a lot of picks, but I'm sitting there looking at this game like it's the Mike Tomlin game. It's the Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin disappointed on Thursday Night Football. The defense gets smoked on Sunday Night Football against the Packers. It was the most points Tomlin's defense had ever given up through 8 weeks or 8 games or wherever they were, whatever the stat was, 7 games, what have you. It was historically bad. And I'm asking the question last week, is this Tomlin? They're just calibrated to win 9 or 10 games, no more, no less, losing round 1 of the playoffs. Because it all felt a lot like every other Mike Tomlin season. Now, as you said last night on the Instant Reaction, 1 game doesn't change what it feels like. It actually enforces what it feels like, because they also, not only do they lose games that they're supposed to win, they win a game that they're supposed to lose.
That's the thing. Like, the fact that they have lost to the Bengals on Thursday Night Football and then beaten the Colts in the last few weeks is ridiculous. Now, those shake out to the right number. If they'd gone 1-1 in that stretch, those 2 games, you'd like, yeah, that makes sense. The fact that they did it the wrong way round makes no sense whatsoever, other than the fact that Pittsburgh do this. And to the degree that you could actually predict it going into this game, it's kind of crazy. Huge win for them, though, overall. I mean, to be 5-3, to now that the Ravens have started winning games and look like they're, a genuine threat in the division, even though they're a couple of games back, to get a win in a game like this where most people would have assumed they would drop it and then put themselves like right into the clutches of Baltimore. Like, this was a big win for Pittsburgh, not just to beat a team as good as the Colts had looked, but also because of the way that division is shaking out now.
One other thing that Pittsburgh did, and it's the fun of the football season, right? It's like teams are allowed to make changes. They're allowed to adjust. We asked about the Steelers adjusting defensively. They've moved Jaelan Ramsey, at least for this game.
Yeah.
Looks officially. They've moved him to free safety.
Well, they ran out of safeties.
I know, but like, is this still? It's part of the reason why they traded for him, right? Like, you're not going to take Minka Fitzpatrick and move him to corner if you had a need there. Ramsey is still a corner by name in this, but he played free safety way back as a true freshman at Florida State, and he's at that point in his career where if he had to just play safety, he could have another 4 or 5 years if he wanted, just like Charles Woodson, right? He looks like he was having fun just playing downhill and running through people, which is how he played corner anyway.
Right.
But just something to keep an eye on. Of course, you've got the injuries that maybe necessitated it, but I think that was part of the reason why we were optimistic about the Steelers' defense, is the fact that they had some depth at corner, at least in names, older names, but they also had this flexibility where if they wanted to play matchups, play it week to week, move Ramsey around, they can do that. And in this game, he played more free safety. They forced all the turnovers, wreaked some more havoc up front against a good offensive line. For the second time this year, the Steelers' defense played to the capability I think that they should. Maybe third time if you include the Browns game. But Patriots game, Browns game, and then in this one, the Steelers' defense looking pretty good.
Yeah. Can I also just say, one of my favorite things in the NFL at the moment is watching Darnell Washington play football.
Oh, my gosh.
At all. Just in any capacity whatsoever.
Yes.
Number one, it's just the visual of it is hilarious. It's like literally what would happen if I just asked an offensive lineman to run routes. Like you see in training camps every now and again, there's like a fun day where it's like, oh, look, here's a guard running a post route. And it's just funny, right? Darnell Washington is that, but all the time. Like, he's this, for some reason, we don't have an accurate weight on him. And it's just, oh, there's Darnell Washington, the tight end who clearly weighs more than 300, but who knows how much more. Like, we've just let this guy, in a world where people get, like, put on a weighing scales and put on a program if you're, like, 4 pounds overweight, Darnell Washington has just been allowed to get to an indeterminate weight, and yet we'll still throw him out there in the slot running, like slant routes at the goal line. And it's just hilarious to watch.
But it's funny because all the way back, when he was a true freshman at Georgia, I think he was like 6'7", 280. At least that's what the scorebook said.
The
right?
list,
that's what
the
it
listed
said.
weight.
But he was making plays. I'm like, you were like, this guy's a future mismatch weapon in the NFL, and it never really materialized. It's not completely surprising to me. I think it's more what's surprising. It's like Rodgers, they got him isolated on backside slants, and it's like Rodgers' go-to guy. Like, we go as far as Darnell Washington goes. And by the way, the Colts did a really good job in the red zone. The one thing the Steelers have done really well this year is when they get into the red zone saying, we have a Darnell Washington, we have a DK Metcalf, good luck. We're just going to throw fades and slants to those guys nonstop, stop it. And the Colts did a nice job of stopping that early on. Again, you're kind of right if you take away the 6 turnovers. The Steelers' offense did not really capitalize on their great field position overall. And the Colts did a nice job of at least keeping it close defensively after the defense was put into a bind. And they did a nice job on Washington on a couple passes where it's like usually impossible to cover the 300-ish pound tight end.
I mean, part of it is how long it takes him to do things. Like they had him on the goal line running a slant. And by the time he'd actually done his shake and bake thing and turned, the ball was already hitting him in the chest and dropping to the ground. Like Rodgers, like, I don't have time to wait for this oil tanker to run a slant. Like the ball needs to come out now. It's just so weird. I can't think of a player like that before where he's just been. It's like, what? How much does he weigh? Don't worry about it. Well, is it close to 300? We don't talk about that. He's just been allowed to get to this like indeterminate north of 3 bills weight, and we just all accept that and move on. And we're still going to use him as like a receiving option in the pass game. It's such a bizarre. And then every now and again, you see him. They had one pass. Forget the one like the slant where it didn't look great. There was one pass where he ran, I think, like an out route. And it was behind him, and he did like a Kyle Pitts type of lean back one-handed, adjustment. You're like a guy 100 pounds less than he is makes. It's such a bizarre sight. It's like I think I made this comp before, but it's like watching the original UFC where it was just like a freak show. Like you had live 180-pound kickboxers against like sumo wrestlers, right? And it was part of the whole entertainment was like the utter ridiculousness of the body types that were going up against each other. Well, like out here somewhere, there's a small slot corner trying to cover this like north of 3 bills monster tight end / offensive lineman.
That's why I love rolling in on a Monday morning. Never know what your big takeaway is going to be from the game.
I love watching Darnell Washington play football. It's comedy and it's great.
The great Alejandro Villanueva.
Yeah.
Who no longer plays.
Who almost certainly weighs less than Darnell Washington does right now.
Do you remember watching him play receiver at
Army? Yeah.
Yeah. 6'10" receiver. That was when I first fell in love with.
But he probably weighed like 40 pounds less than Darnell Washington.
Yeah, he was
does
probably.
now.
I mean, he listed at 6'10". I think sometimes people like me list at 6'10". Maybe you're 6'9".
Sure.
6'9" and a half. So he was probably about 6'9", 280 at the time.
He was,
like
he was probably a 200.
Awesome.
But he was pretty thin then. He was probably like a 270-pound receiver.
Yeah.
Darnell Washington's north of 3 bills to some level.
He's around my frame. 6'9", 277 was my playing weight.
Yeah.
What?
Nothing.
Me and Darnell have similar fluctuations in weight. There was one other thing that didn't matter in the game, but I wrote it in my notes and was like, keep an eye on this one. That didn't end up mattering because the Indy kept turning it over. The Steelers punted on 4th and 1.
Yeah.
Right? And even the broadcast is like, they were pulling up Mike Tomlin's go-for-it rates, lowest in the NFL, old-school Tomlin, the whole thing.
We said before, Ben Baldwin had that chart of win percentage lost through kicking when you should be going for it. And Tomlin is like on his own at the bottom of that to the point where it looks like a mistake in the chart. Yeah. Like it looks like people have just forgotten to enter, his statistics in this chart. Everyone else has gained lost or gained something. And he's just kicked every single one of those opportunities.
And then they did go for it on 4th and 4, 4th and 3 early in the red zone, didn't get it. So they punt on 4th and 1, and then the Colts come back and they go for it on 4th and 3 at like their own 35, and they get it. And I'm thinking, this is going to be this is the big turning point in the game. Then they have the tip pass interception that lands, Jack Sawyer for the pick. That was interesting. The last thing I just wanted to say about Tomlin, didn't he have some sort of comment earlier this week, like smiling about the Colts? Like he almost sensed like he
knew himself that this game was going to be like this.
I think that might be Mike Tomlin's superpower. As 20 years in the NFL as a head coach, he just kind of knows what might happen. Now he can't necessarily stop it. Like the fear of Flacco. He knew that Flacco was going to carve them up.
He did. Tomlin actually has this is the ridiculous thing about this season is Tomlin was acutely aware of the witchcraft that was going to befall them on Thursday Night Football. He knew that they were like 0 and whatever it is on the road at a short week against a division opponent, and that Joe Flacco has some kind of black magic in his veins through this season. He also knew that the Colts, this absolute wagon, was going to completely lose its wheels and fall off against the Steelers.
He just knows.
He knows exactly how this year's going.
That's where he gets the most credit. He's like, I've seen this 20 straight years. We only play so many types of games, and this is what
the only person in the football world who's actually experienced the necessary sample size to predict the future is Mike Tomlin, because he's been in the league for so long.
Now, the key is when things are going to go sour, when you can see the future and it's like, man, we're going to get carved up on Thursday night against Flacco, you got to find a way to stop it. That's the next.
Right. No, he's got no ability to do that. He's just going to be angry about it and blame the Browns.
All right, it's a fun show already. We're having fun. Anything else on this one?
No.
Colts are flying to Germany for a football game.
Indeed.
This week. They get the Falcons this week in Germany. Steelers coming back to Sunday Night Football against the Chargers. Huge win for Pittsburgh because playing another playoff caliber team in the Chargers next week needed a win.
Yeah. So Colts-Falcons is actually a pretty good-looking game, but it's the country's first game that's terrible on paper every time. Like Spain is getting the Dolphins against somebody terrible.
Commanders.
There you go. Yeah. So it's like whoever you're first, like whatever. If you petition the NFL, we're a country that's taken an interest in this newfangled game you've got called football. We'd like to experience a game. You're like, okay, first game though, it's going to be awful. Your first game is going to stink. After that, if you show you're willing to suffer through that,
if you show up.
Right. If you show up through the terrible game, we might give you something good. But the first one's going to suck.
It's Tua. We're really jumping ahead here. In 2 weeks, it's going to be Tua against his hero, Marcus Mariota.
His hero.
In 2 weeks. And in Spain.
Mm-hmm. Madrid. The Bernabeu.
If you show up for Tua versus Mariota, we'll give you a good game next year.
Right. Maybe next year you can get a good game.
That's how Raj works. I got no more use for this game. Let's go. New England Patriots 24, Atlanta Falcons 23. Patriots move to 7-2. Falcons, another tough one, lose, fall to 3-5. Patriots got up early, had it in hand, 21-7. Falcons forced multiple turnovers, but one in particular right before the half, strip sack from Jaelan Walker, recovered by James Pierce. That set them up for a touchdown to be down 7 going to the half, and then the Falcons get within 1. Drake London, unbelievable game for him, which we'll talk about. Falcons down 24-23, missed the extra point.
Get within, that's a weird. Get within 1
to tie it up. Usually I say the touchdown
the tying
to tie it up.
The tying score. Only the kicker doesn't hold up his end of the bargain.
And they missed the extra point. Still had another opportunity, but Patriots hold on defensively and then seal it with the first down to, I believe it was Hunter Henry, and that was it.
Yeah. This doesn't happen very often, but if there's ever a play where like a general manager is like fist pumping, has nailed it, your 2 first-round picks on the defensive line combining for a turnover, a strip sack, and then a scoop and score play, when one of them was, the ballsy move of trading next year's first-round pick to get him. Like, can you imagine a more perfect, like, I nailed it play than that one for a personnel guy? Like, no. That's perfect.
The 2 first-round edge rushers. Jalen Walker comes free on a stunt, forces the fumble on Drake May. James Pierce picks it up. Oh, man, he was full loaf of bread carrying it, too, before Will Campbell tackled him.
And honestly, I mean, that saved the game for them. Like, they were in trouble at that point. They were down bad. They were in a hole. The Patriots were getting the ball at the start of the second half. They had the ball right then, so they could have added even more pain to the situation. Like, Atlanta was in deep trouble there. And then the pair of edge rushers combined to literally not just turn the ball over, but put up 7 points as well, and put a score on the board. Huge. Like, that absolutely rescued the game from their point of view. Drake May was looking really good, dropping dimes into Pop Douglas, who had an amazing game, off the back of some personal tragedy as well. I think he lost an uncle or something the morning of the game or just before.
Did you say?
Pop Douglas.
Oh, yeah.
Either the day before the game or like some crazy proximity to the game. So he was playing inspired, had an amazing game. Drake May was hitting him with a lot of those passes. The Patriots offense looked really good. No, Ramondre Stevenson was down, so Travion Henderson got the start. And then for some reason, the Patriots just hate TreVeyon Henderson. So even though he got the start and, Stevenson's down, so you can't feed him the ball, and Antonio Gibson is already on the shelf with an injury, they're giving a second-year undrafted free agent. What's his name?
Terrell Jennings.
Terrell Jennings, that's it. He's like splitting time evenly with their, high second-round draft pick, who everyone thought was a perfect fit for this offense. Just amazing use with TreVeyon Henderson. But everything was going well for the Patriots until that one play, which really kept Atlanta in it. And then the second half, the Falcons sort of remembered that, the way in college Drake London was like a savant with the ball in the air, like one of the greatest contested catch artists of all time at the college level. I wonder if he can still do that. Turns out he can at a really, really high level.
I thought London was... Yeah, he was outstanding, obviously. 9 catches for 118 and 3 touchdowns. When they got into the red zone, they did a nice job getting him isolated on Marcus Jones a couple times,
right.
Threw it up to him. So basically every throw was a different version of a fade to Drake London. The final one, 4th and 4, he one-hands it in the end zone.
Ridiculous catch.
What should have been the game-time play. He had a 40-yarder against Christian Gonzalez. Gonzalez had been having a great season.
And Gonzalez is a big, strong corner, and he made him look ridiculous.
He ran through an illegal. Yeah, Gonzalez picked up illegal contact on the play.
Yeah,
and London still goes up, catches it, lands on Gonzalez's head, knocked him out of the game for a bit too.
He got absolutely sunned on that play. And as I said, Gonzalez is a big, strong corner, and Drake London absolutely little brothered him on that play. It's unbelievable.
So, look, I think there's elements of what the Falcons did in this game, feeding Bijan in the pass game and London in the pass game. Kyle Pitts had a big couple catches in there as well. They're still very inconsistent offensively. Didn't really get the run game going as they have in other games, but they got the ball to Drake London for those big plays and missed the extra point. From New England's point of view, for a team that's won 6 straight now to move to 7-2, kept saying, hey, you're going to beat the Browns and the Titans. Make sure you take care of business in those games. This is probably the most challenging team that they've played in a few weeks now.
Yeah.
And they played a sloppy game, as in Drake May airmails one for an interception. He had 2 fumbles, one that he just dropped, the other one where he strip sacked. He still got sacked 6 times. And I know some of those are like he's stepping up through the pocket and it's only like a 1 or 2 yard loss, but he's got to stop taking some of those negative plays. For all of when he's throwing the football, May has been out of this world, which is why he's setting these passer rating records and all these different things. When he's throwing the ball, it's been great. He's got to cut down on some of those negative plays. It almost came back to bite in this one, where the strip sack before the half gave the Falcons some life.
And that's right. I forgot that they didn't score on that play. They got right to the shadow of the goal line, then Drake London.
And then it was more. Will Campbell saved the day for a minute on that one. But that play saved. You're right. It saved the game for them because it was right before the half.
Right.
Like the New England was up 2 scores going into halftime.
Yeah.
And they handed 7 points to the Falcons. Pop Douglas has been really good. The first touchdown they got, they put him in the backfield and ran a wheel route with him on Jaelan Walker, which was great. I love Jaelan Walker as a concept, as a play, right?
But that's ambitious.
But that's tough. Yeah. I mean, he's a hybrid linebacker / edge coming out of Georgia. He had legitimate coverage skills, outstanding at spying quarterbacks. I thought he had this great versatility. So on paper, like if any edge rusher in the NFL could maybe cover Pop Douglas, it's Jaelan Walker, and he didn't really have a shot.
No, I mean there's nobody that you would say their primary area of responsibility would be rushing the passer, who you would say could cover that, reasonably.
Yeah.
Somebody might have a better shot at it than others, but nobody whose first gig is rushing the passer, you would say, has any real shot of covering that play.
And I don't know where DeMario Pop Douglas's stats are this year, because remember earlier in the year he had like a ton of targets for no yards and a couple touchdowns or whatever it was. He had that 60-something yarder negated against the Saints for no reason. That doesn't show up in his stats. But he had another play, 58-yarder over the deep middle, catches it, jukes out a couple defenders. He's made some huge plays for this Patriots offense. You have Stephon Diggs, his touchdown, catch and run, where he outruns the Falcons defense. A couple plays these last few weeks where the Falcons defense has just looked a little slow, and letting Douglas, Stephon Diggs outrun the defense for some big plays. But yeah, May continues to throw the ball well. Just gotta cut down on the sack totals. Can't have the games where you're getting sacked 6 times just like he did last week if you're New England.
Mm-hmm.
What else in this one?
He only has 262 receiving yards this season, in large part because
262?
Because 60 plus of them got taken away for
throw 60
random
on
play.
That. Thank you. But he had the 58-yarder, had 4 catches for 100 yards. The other interesting game flow aspect of this one, Drake London, they get the big 40-yarder, or they get a 20-something yarder to London on a game-winning attempt here. The Falcons they're down 1. They have a chance to drive and kick a game-winning field goal or go-ahead field goal. And it's second down, and the Falcons snapped it early, or something happened with Penix. And this is where, Kurt Warner talking about, man, I'm watching the Falcons, and the attention to detail is not there. He's calling out the offense, Sam. The attention to detail is not there. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Whatever happened on this play. Snapped it early. Penix catches it and just spikes it. And he's under pressure, so it's grounding. And he spikes it away from, I think, where Bijan was, where if he just turned and threw it the other way, maybe you get away with it. And it put them into 3rd and 20 instead of, 3rd and 10 or, running a 2nd and 10 play. So they're in 3rd and 20 after a huge play to get into fringe field goal range. And in that type of play kills. It kills you.
Yeah. The NFL appears to be weirdly emphasizing intentional grounding this season in a way that I don't think benefits anybody.
I think it was the right call.
But we're seeing a whole series of intentional grounding calls that in previous years you didn't.
The last couple,
Russell throwing it into the stands was like, oh, that's grounding.
Oh, I hate it. I know.
Patrick
last
Mahomes
2 years
yesterday when the ball's tipped at the line, we're like, that's grounding.
We'll talk about that.
We're just seeing a whole bunch of these grounding calls where in previous years they didn't get called, and I don't see why. In a world where the NFL is trying to find ways to protect quarterbacks because the game immediately turns to garbage if your good quarterback goes down, one of the cleanest ways of protecting them is by letting basically anything you can think of not be intentional grounding, right? If you essentially ignore the intentional grounding rule, that's the closest you can come to protecting a quarterback without completely screwing everybody, right?
I don't know if this
why
is the
are
best
we
example
randomly
of that,
calling
though.
things?
This isn't the best example of that, though.
You're
just saying
anything
go.
I would almost toss the intentional grounding rule completely and let quarterbacks throw the ball away anytime they want.
I don't think you can. I'm closer to that than most people, but I don't know if I'd go completely that far. Anyway, the intentional grounding put them in 3rd and 20. Next pass is incomplete. Then they punt with about a little over 2 minutes left. New England just needed 1 first down to win. Well-designed play on 3rd and 5 to hit Hunter Henry to seal it for New England, and it was a really important part of the game, though, is the fact that after all that the Falcons overcame to be in the game, and that the Patriots maybe turn the ball over to let the Falcons back in, Patriots held on at the end to get the win. Anything else on that game?
Nope.
All right. Do you want to hit the breaking news right now?
We have breaking news?
Yeah. We have a trade.
We have a trade?
We have a trade.
Do we?
The Miami Dolphins are trading edge rusher Jaelan Phillips to the Philadelphia Eagles for a 2026 third-round pick. They've been working on this for days. Vic Fangio was Phillips' defensive coordinator just a couple years ago, a reunion in Philadelphia. This was the edge rusher that you had suggested that the Dolphins trade. He's younger than Chubb. He's young.
He's the guy I would have been interested in from that group.
I think the Eagles have been making a lot of moves on the periphery. This is the biggest move that they've made so far this season, though.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. I'm curious. You said the Vic Fangio thing. Remember, all of the Dolphins players basically hated Vic Fangio.
I don't know if it was all of them,
where Jaelan Phillips fits in that category.
Was it all of them, or was it just Jalen Ramsey?
It was pretty universal, but I would be curious whether Jaelan Phillips was in that group. Usually, when you connect former player coaches, it's like there's a positive thing. I wonder. I don't know. But yeah, he knows. Vic Fangio knows Jaelan Phillips. I'm curious how Jaelan Phillips feels about Vic Fangio. But, yeah, Phillips is the guy that I would be intrigued in from that Miami defensive front. Philadelphia, we've said for a while, this is a team that is trying to bolster their defensive line. It has been a step down from what it's been in previous years. They're not as strong as they have been. They've already, dragged Brandon Graham out of retirement, try and bring him back into the lineup. Jaelan Phillips makes a lot of sense from their point of view. And we already, from Miami's point of view, we said, look, Chris Greer's gone. It makes sense for them to trade away anybody of significant value at this point.
Yeah, and the Eagles, they're 6-2, right? We're nitpicking. They had the 1-2 game losing streak, lost 2 games in four days or whatever earlier this year. Their pass rush has not been as dominant as we've seen in the past. So yeah, adding a guy like Jaelan Phillips, who's always been a good, solid pass rusher, dealt with some injury issues, had injury questions coming out of college. This is a very good player. The other part of this, so Miami gets this third-round pick locked in, as Field Yates emphasizes here on X right now. If Jaelan Phillips, who's heading into his free agent year, if he leaves, signs a big deal, it counts towards Philly's compensatory pick formula. So there's 2 things that could happen here, right? You get half a season, he's very good, he signs a Josh Sweat-like contract, either in Philadelphia, great, Eagles feel good about that, you got an edge rusher to lock up, or he goes somewhere else, gets a Josh Sweat-like contract, and the Eagles might get this third-round pick in 2027 back. Maybe not the same pick, but you're,
Yeah, I mean, it makes the math,
whatever it is.
It makes the math really easy for a team like Philadelphia. Now, obviously, it's not as simple as that because it's an overall, net thing. So, like, you might not get anything theoretically if you go spending in free agency and sign a bunch of players because, they cannot.
Right.
But theoretically, if you did nothing this offseason, you could effectively get the pick back that you're trading for Jaelan Phillips if he leaves and signs somewhere else for a big deal. So it makes it like a slam dunk that why would you not trade away that pick because you can get something back. Those are the comp pick formula makes these types of trades really interesting math for both sides.
And you might say to Miami, why not just take the comp pick for Phillips?
Right.
But you lock in your third rounder, and if you're not going to sign him long term, you might as well get that locked in. The biggest issue, which we'll break down on Wednesday with Miami, to reiterate, haven't drafted often enough. They've missed in the draft as well, but they haven't. The volume of drafting has not been there for Miami. So now they're going to start getting back to that with at least accumulating some picks here.
And for a team that is bad and has several holes in their roster, they're going to want to spend in free agency. So you have to assume that their comp pick formula is going to take a beating before you get to the idea of, we get a third-round pick back for Jaelan Phillips. Like, yeah, right. But you're already planning on spending that with the players you have to bring in. So locking it in makes a material difference to them.
Yes, and just to confirm from the chat, yes, the comp pick would be in 2027. So if Philadelphia
following year as well
lets him walk, he signs a deal, Phillips, and Philadelphia doesn't go crazy in free agency, theoretically they could get the third-round pick back in 2027, which for a stable franchise where like Howie Roseman's going to have a job in 2027 for the Eagles, you could get a half-year rental for a third-round pick and maybe get a similar pick back the next year. That's a pretty good overall move here for Philadelphia, and I think a necessary first step here for the Dolphins. All right, had to get that out of the way because it's the biggest trade we've seen so far. Hopefully, have a lot more over the next couple days. Back to the games. Carolina Panthers. Upset of the day here, 16-13 over the Green Bay Packers. Panthers move to 5-4. Packers fall to 5-2-1. Walk-off game-winning field goal for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the upset of the day because there were a few of them, but it was certainly one of them. Carolina
spread was 10.
It was a big spread, and it was a game that I don't think many people even considered the idea that Carolina might win it. But I think you saw the power of, simply keeping the game script in a neutral spot. Like Carolina, we'd said this, for every time they got beat bad, they put themselves in a hole early with, turnovers. Bryce Young would just drop the football. Weird things would happen. And then, they're not a good enough football team to be able to, come back from a double-digit type of point differential. When they're in a hole, they're probably staying in the hole. But this was a game where they never got in a hole. They were always in a pretty good situation during the game, and Green Bay didn't really fire. And so Carolina just kept turning the screw, putting the pressure on them, and it worked. I mean, Green Bay kind of wilted under the pressure.
We talk a lot about try to control the clock so that you keep the other team off the field or whatever it might be. And in a game, I can't remember the exact average, but most teams average, say, 9 or 10 possessions in a game. You have a game like a few weeks ago, the Texans had 14 against Seattle and just couldn't score. You have other games where a team might have 8. Both teams had 7 possessions. So if you're Carolina, you're double-digit underdogs in this game. And if you could draw it up, you would say, in a game where you're overmatched on paper, you want to have 7 possessions each instead of 10, right?
Yeah.
And they did a nice job. 70-yard drive early on, a 71-yard drive. They have 2 drives of over 70 yards combining for 25 plays in the first half. That's how you shorten the entire game. So that was a key part in this game. The wind was a factor in this game. The Bryce Young interception, I don't know if that just got caught up in the wind. And this is why I emphasize the weather thing really matters, man. Like, it really matters if you're going to evaluate quarterbacks or you're going to evaluate a lot of us just look at stat lines. So many people just look at stat lines like, this quarterback sucks. And this is a bad throw by Bryce Young. He tries to throw a fade. It looks like he missed it 5 yards inside. I assume it got caught up in the wind. I mean, it's his own fault, but you still have to factor that in when we're evaluating these things. So the wind was a factor. After the game, they showed Dave Canales saying, hey, we took the ball. We decided to receive in the first half so that in the second half, we would have the choice of which direction we want to go to. We want to have the wind at our back in the fourth quarter. And that was what led. The wind was listed at 15 miles an hour before the game. We've talked to NFL teams before where if the wind, and again, it's a weather report at 1 p.m. That can obviously change. But we've talked to NFL teams where if the wind gets to 18, that was like the magic cutoff. They would throw the game plan out and have a backup game plan. Now, I don't know if that's the right analysis or not, but when you're in that 15, 18 miles an hour or higher,
it's notable.
It's notable enough that it affects the pass game. And so the Panthers receiving the ball, so just so people know how this works, it's not like Madden necessarily. When you receive the ball in the first, you're choosing in the first half and you're choosing in the second half whether you want the ball or not. So when the Panthers say, we want the ball in the first half, then the Packers say, we want to defend this side. Then you choose in the second, and then the Packers have their choice in the second half to say, we want to kick or receive. Well, of course you're going to receive, right? Because you already kicked in the first half. And then the Panthers get to choose which way they want to go in the second half. It's 2 different, theoretically you choose at the beginning of both halves. So the Panthers set it up so that they could choose in the second half to have the wind. And Greg Olsen brought all this up on the broadcast because that's what he does, is bring up sharp points. And that ended up, not saying that was the difference in the game, but clearly being able to set up a game-winning field goal with a wind in a significant wind game was a great job by the Panthers.
It was. I mean, they won a game where Bryce Young had 102 passing yards and an interception.
In the red zone, a red zone interception.
Yeah, and I think you're right that it probably held up in the wind. I think it was a bad pass anyway, and also Xavier Legette wasn't open. It gets sort of undercut by the safety who comes across and intercepts it. Legette, a giant, big red zone type of target, was getting bodied by. Was it Keyshawn Nixon?
Did he veer off his route that much?
I think he was just getting beaten on the fade. The corner had him covered and it wasn't open, and it looked even more ridiculous because he got driven further wide, and then the safety undercuts an underthrown pass, and it's like the whole thing looks ridiculous. But yeah, Legette, who'd been sort of a breakout receiver the last couple of weeks, I thought was getting bodied on that play and just was not winning in the red zone. There were a bunch of little plays went Carolina's way in the game. Like you got the early fumble from Xavier Williams, the rookie Green Bay receiver, where that was another one where it's a receiver screen or something. They tackle him, but late in the down, they've got him stacked up and a guy comes in, punches the ball out, and it's loose on the ground. They get that turnover. Green Bay missed a field goal in the game. Just a bunch of little things all broke Carolina's way again to keep them ahead and in the game and turning the screw on Green Bay. Huge thing for the Packers. Tucker Kraft goes down on just a freak. He's coming across the formation to block and ends up sort of basically just running into a pile of bodies and immediately goes down clutching his knee in significant pain. That's a body blow for them as a hugely important loss. Yeah,
huge loss for the Packers. That was a tough one. game story-wise, too, I would say Packers were 1 for 5 in the red zone.
Which has been a strength of theirs. Yeah. Both sides. A week ago, they were top 5 in red zone performance on both offense and defense.
So when we talk about, like, game flow-wise, the Panthers saying, having 7 possessions each team, a wind game that kind of compresses things, bend but don't break defense. A lot of that added up for Carolina. Then the run game, like Rico Dowdle making huge runs when they needed to.
He's a beast again.
Yeah.
He's so good. And so Chuba Hubbard, I think, is by far their sort of second best running back at this point. He's being dramatically outperformed by Rico Dowdle. However, Chuba Hubbard saved a turnover for them. Micah Parsons gets a strip sack on Bryce Young. Chuba Hubbard dives on the football, keeps it alive. Like, those are important plays in a game like this where it's razor edge, 16-13 in the final. It's a field goal difference. You need to keep those. You can't turn the ball over like that. So, huge play for Hubbard.
Especially when turnovers, every Panthers loss this year was like 2 first-half turnovers.
Right, exactly.
In every single game. And it was like, no, only one this time. Bryce Young interception, and they saved it. Saved the one fumble. EPA per play. How about this stat, Sam? I know we usually use red zone cutoffs, but because it made my story better. The Packers' EPA per play outside the 30-yard line. So we'll call it, is that the gray zone? 30-yard line, they were 0.3 EPA per play, which is very, very good. That's outstanding offense. Inside the 30-yard line, minus 0.39 EPA per play. It's the story of the game. Well, it's the stuff you can't predict on a Thursday going in. Hey, just be great in the red zone.
You say that's the story of the game. I would like to draw your attention to, by far, I think, the biggest officiating controversy in the NFL this season, which is Rico Dowdle scores a touchdown, celebrates with the hip thrust, pumps just twice, not 3 times, and they throw a flag anyway.
Is that an NFL rule or merely a skit?
It's been the NFL's policy that it's the third pump that gets you done. Now, so Adam Azier,
is that
this
reviewable?
Is an actual Rico Dowdle quote. From my understanding and everything I've learned, we go over stuff like this every week in the meeting room. I definitely think you're supposed to get 2 pumps, Dowdle said. Hopefully I don't get a fine. Wow. So the NFL has just randomly and with no...
egregious. That's egregious.
With no, what's the word I'm looking for here? The due process. With no due process, has just decided we're going to take a pump off. And that's when the flag's coming out. I don't think we should stand for that.
No, it's embarrassment for the league. It's embarrassment for the league. Can't have that.
Can't have it.
Justice for Rico is what we need.
You don't want to know, this came up in the game.
Can they not count?
I don't know.
That should be reviewable.
I don't know if it should be well, it should be, yes, you should be able to review it. At the very minimum, it's one of those things where Carolina should be able to, you can launch like an appeal to the league. You write in, you'd be like, dude, what happened on this play? And the league has to say, yeah, you're right. We dropped the ball on that one. Carolina, if they're not sending off an angry worded letter,
Eric's doctoring up a video as we speak. He's
being like,
watch this. Number 1, number 2.
We had over. 2, but not 3 pumps. We demand a written apology from NFL officiating. I don't know what's happening.
In fact, the officials should be fined, and the money should go to Rico.
Damn right. This came up in this game, and I couldn't believe this was true. And it's still, it's not a great time to bring it up because they lost the game. But apparently, Bart Starr, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers all won the championship game. It was pre-Super Bowl for Bart Starr when they were 27 years old. What age is Jordan Love this season?
27.
Correct. How insane would that be if all 4 Hall of Fame, 3 Hall of Fame caliber quarterbacks, and then the guy succeeding them, all win a championship on their age 27 season? That's one of the most absurd stats of all time if that ends up coming to pass.
Again, one of the hardest things about football analysis is when the random
Black
unrelated
magic
thing happens. That was like the old Giants winning the Super Bowl against the Patriots twice. It's like, no way they do this twice as heavy underdogs when they shouldn't be. Nope, they did.
But
both
2
times.
times, once anything can happen once. 2 times is, that's interesting, but it's probably insignificant. When it's like 4 times across 50 years, that's insane.
Just how the Packers operate. Consistency with the Packers. Unlike the NFL, throwing that flag.
With a 2-pump random crackdown.
Can we make this a little tradition too? Can I get on a Panthers victory Monday, can I get a Dowdle out of you? Can we get a Dowdle shout? Because Rico Dowdle he recovered from the penalty and had the long run to set up the eventual game-winning field
I don't
goal.
think you can do it on command. It needs to be a spontaneous Dowdle, you know?
Oh.
I don't think you can just command one.
I thought you could pull it out at will.
Yeah, the level of excitement in that Dowdle call, it's not a manufactured thing. You've got to be in the moment.
Anything else on this one?
Nope. Congratulations to the doctor, the great Dr. Eric Eager and the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
What a win.
5-4 Panthers, and then it's just going to be an absolute mess at the top of the NFC.
That division's kind of chaos, other than Tampa Bay, looking decent. But, like Carolina is fast joining Atlanta to being two of the most confusing teams in the NFL. This was the statement game that they were looking for against Buffalo. It didn't happen then because they got themselves in a hole early and couldn't get out of it. But they then come back against Green Bay and deliver it.
They had Bryce Young back. Packers moved to fall to 5-2-1. NBA's back, and FanDuel's your home for live betting. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join because FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So visit FanDuel.com/33rd to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only for a $5 first deposit required. Bonus issues is not as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. If Hope is here, visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts. Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Minnesota Vikings. Another upset.
Yeah.
Of 10-point dogs in this one too? Minnesota 27, Detroit Lions 24. Vikings save their season. Moving to 4-4, Lions fall to 5-3. J.J. McCarthy makes his return and makes some big plays in this one for the Minnesota Vikings.
He did. He looked good in this game. And we're going to have, this is going to be ridiculous. The J.J. McCarthy Vikings discourse is going to be a roller coaster for the rest of the year, going from, he's the truth after games like this to, the first time he throws a bad pass. He sucks. Told you I never liked him. It's going to be all over the map. But yeah, he played well in this game. He made a bunch of big plays. I was kind of surprised, after watching the game and you then look at the overall numbers, I actually surprised how small his numbers were overall. He only ended up with 140-something passing yards at the end of it.
That's a Harbaugh, man. This is a Harbaugh from J.J. McCarthy. 14 of 25 for 143, two touchdowns.
Now,
that's a Harbaugh.
Right. He had more production than that. I mean, early in the game, he put the ball in the hands of Jordan Addison in the end zone. Should have been a touchdown. Addison wasn't able to come up with it. So there were some good passes in there that he didn't get credit for. But this was an impressive performance. Both sides of the ball, really, for Minnesota. The offense was good with J.J. McCarthy there. He made some really good plays. And then the defense really showed up, having been fairly comprehensively wrecked the last few weeks.
Yeah, so two stories, I think, here. Minnesota's defense stepping up. I mean, they kind of hung in there in the Week 18 game last year against Detroit, the Sunday night game, but the offense was so bad with Darnold. But for the most part, the Lions had their way with Flores' defense the last couple of years, right? To the point where if Goff got sacked more than once, it was like a miracle, right? They weren't getting to him. He was picking apart their blitzes. They were creating big plays. Sacking Goff 5 times. And again, I just implore the fans, every time a quarterback gets sacked, very rarely, like the TJ Watt one was so distinct and quick in the Steelers game. Quick win, strip sack, nothing
clean
the Colts could do. As clean as you get. Most sacks are not like that, which is why TJ Watt is special. He has a lot of just straight up dominant wins and strip sacks, right? In this game, it was like the coverage unit. My point is the coverage unit deserves credit for this. You see a hesitation, right? It's like the first read's not there. And the Vikings did a good job of meshing pass rush and coverage. It's what we'll talk about with Chiefs and Bills in a couple hours. And so Goff goes down 5 times. If this goes both ways, the Lions had two touchdowns on fourth downs, right? 4th and 1 with David Montgomery, but the 4th and 4 to Sam Laporta, long 40-yarder in there. The Vikings just made life difficult for the Lions offense for the first time in a long time. And I know the Lions eventually scored 24, but it took like a freak play by Sam Laporta, a really freak play by Jameson Williams, a great throw by Jared Goff. They just made life more difficult for the Lions offense, stopping the run for the first time in weeks, getting pressure on Goff, making some big plays defensively against the Lions offense. And then J.J. McCarthy, the great pass to Addison that gets dropped, the actual touchdown to Justin Jefferson, and then the game-sealing back shoulder to Jaelan Naylor. I mean, those are the types of plays that were the difference in the game here for the Vikings.
Yeah, they were. That was a huge play late on. Again, showing that they had the confidence in McCarthy to make the plays in a situation where you have to trust a quarterback to be able to put the ball in the air in that situation and win the game, ice the game, and he did. Overall, so the interception is it's a little bit behind his receiver, and Terry and Arnold kind of takes the ball away. The Vikings, by the way, are on this legendary run of getting absolutely hosed by replay. On whether it's a play that they've made and it's been called good on the field, or it's a play that they haven't quite made and they take it away, or they just every replay decision that's happened in the last 4 weeks or so has gone against him on a razor thin edge. And this was it's behind Naylor. He gets a hand on it. He's sort of losing it. And as he's losing it, Terry and Arnold grabs hold of it. And then Naylor grabs hold of it. And they're both wrestling for the ball on the ground with control over it. And you're like, well, you could make the call that's simultaneous possession. You could also make the call that Arnold got hold of it first, therefore it's his. And that's the call that they made. So Minnesota gets the turnover. I will say the one flaw that McCarthy had in this game, I think, is on the move, he was pretty bad. He made the decisions were correct. He was throwing the ball to the right place, just not accurately. And that was a case where the ball was a little bit behind, and I'm not saying it should have resulted in a turnover, but the reason it's a turnover is because it's behind him and Arnold can get back into the play. He had another one where he missed the guy behind on a similar type of play. He had a ball where he's running, he's just on the move and targets Justin Jefferson on the sideline, just airmails it 3 yards over his head that he can't catch. It was the right call and he just missed it. When he was moving, when he was on the run in this game, he was 1 of 7 or something, absurdly
The one
bad.
touchdown to Hawkinson.
Yeah, absurdly bad numbers on the move.
The one thing that he also did on the move was his touchdown run.
Yeah.
That was an outstanding scramble. They had Anzalone coming from depth. Wasn't necessarily in a spy role, but Anzalone, you were just talking about, what he did in a spy role against Lamar Jackson in week 1 or week 3, whatever it was. And he just outran the angle, JJ, on Anzalone, which I thought was a nice little shimmy to free him. It reminded of Jackson Dart being in the open field. That was so it was a 9-yard scramble by J.J. McCarthy to go up 10 in the third quarter on 3rd and 8. That was another huge play for the Vikings in the win.
Yeah, and the flip side of that, by the way, is when he was in the pocket, he completed 72% of his passes, and had a really good performance. It was just when you got him on the move, suddenly his accuracy broke down.
Is J.J. going to be like the Bo Nix thing, where there's some good, there's some bad, and
sure.
We're going to live in both ends of the extreme as far as the
I think overall,
goes.
given expectations or given concerns, given the worry, which was in most of what we'd seen from J.J. McCarthy before this, albeit an incredibly small sample size of play, it was not good. Going up against a Detroit team that had looked fantastic recently and had Minnesota's number for a while. I mean, were they on a run of 5 straight wins or something against Minnesota? This was not a game that you were expecting the Vikings to win and or J.J. McCarthy to look particularly good in. So for him to come out, look very good immediately, the Vikings scored 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. He was dealing in the first quarter. And for then, their defense to show up and play well as well. I mean, incredible win for Minnesota. This was a game that showed that people had written off their season before this game effectively. For them to win this game, okay, they're still, I think, technically fourth in the division, but fourth at 500. Like, they're still alive and shown that they can beat really good NFL teams.
To go to Detroit and win this game
on the road, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge game for Minnesota. The other play that all but sealed it for Minnesota, or at least made a massive difference, they block a field goal.
Yeah.
24-17. Jalen Redmond gets a sack on 3rd and 14. Jake Bates has his field goal blocked. So this would have brought it to 24-20, and this was before Jameson Williams had that really incredible touchdown, great throw by Goff, where Williams caught it along the sideline and found his way into the end zone. So the field goal block completely changed everything. The Isaiah Rodgers returns it, puts Minnesota in field goal range. So you're talking about, had this gone through, it's 24-20 Minnesota. Instead, they block it, get the long return, they kick the field goal, Minnesota, and it goes 27-17. So 6-point swing here in favor of the Vikings just off a field goal block. So when we're talking like a lot, we spend 99% of our time analyzing offense and defense and what went right and what didn't. The special teams play completely alters the game. And for Minnesota, who was up 10 in the second half, this essentially saved the game for them, even with the Lions picking up that late touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, special teams were a huge part of this game. Early on, like, Minnesota was set up in good field position because of a really good return. The Vikings thought they had another huge return touchdown, right? And it was taken off the board because of a holding. Basically, every big return in kick returns in today's NFL, there's a holding flag on it somewhere. Huge shout out, by the way, to Miles Price for the Vikings. He's looking really good as a return guy. Undrafted free agent, I think, this year as a receiver, like a tiny little guy, 5'9", 180 pounds. But he's dynamic every time the ball's in his hands as a return guy, and is looking like sort of one of the most impactful return guys in the NFL. And then you have the block field goal. So like 3 big plays on special teams that went, 2 of them went Minnesota's way. A third one looked like it did, but it was taken away because of a holding call. Yeah, special teams was a big part of the game.
And then the last thing, just to reiterate, the throw that J.J. McCarthy made to Naylor to seal it. If you are a J.J. McCarthy fan, you would point to the high leverage plays and a 3rd and 8 scramble for a touchdown, and then the back shoulder that he throws, 3rd and 5, minute 41 left. They're a first down away from winning, and he throws just an absolute dime, 16 yards, first down, to beat the division rival Lions, the defending division champions. That's a big moment, especially for a team, that was facing. If you lose, you fall to 3-5. We keep rattling off their schedule. Got to play Detroit twice. Got to play the Packers twice. You got to play all these good teams. You got one of the most difficult schedules in the NFL, at least for 1 week here. Minnesota still alive. J.J. McCarthy shows that he can make some big plays when he needs to. And even in a loaded NFC North, Minnesota still alive and showing that they're, as competitive as we thought they would be throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge game for them because I think they showed not just that, they showed that they're capable of beating even the better teams out there. And as long as you're capable of doing that, you're dangerous. Even if you maybe, like, consistency may be a problem going forward, who knows? Maybe J.J. McCarthy will just be good. But you would imagine consistency will be all over the place for the Vikings, but at least they've shown that the high end is there. So theoretically, everything is still on the table for this team this season.
Lions lost starting guard Christian Mahogany. Taylor Decker left the game as well, so some offensive line issues.
As did Penei Sewell at various points. He was dealing with multiple things during the course of the game. It looked like he got poked in the eye, and then he had a chest injury on a block. He was banged up. Meanwhile, by the way, like the reverse is true for Minnesota. They had 4/5 of the theoretical starting offensive line in this game, and given Ryan Kelly has dealt with multiple concussions at this point, you would imagine that's probably as far as they're going to get. But I mean, that totally changes this team. Getting 4/5 of the starting offensive line in the lineup and staying there is huge. Like, the Vikings looked pretty good up front with that offensive line intact. Aiden Hutchinson still caused all kinds of problems because he's Aiden Hutchinson. But, like, this was a different offensive line than the last time we saw J.J. McCarthy, and that it's a material and positive difference for them.
So the NFC North here, through 9 weeks, Packers in first at 5-2-1, Lions and Bears both 5-3, Vikings 4-4. So they're all 500 or better. Last 2 years, maybe the most competitive division in the entire NFL, continuing again this year. It's all because the Bears did win yesterday, 47-42 over the Cincinnati Bengals. Victory Monday for Will. Congrats to producer Will, who braved the live game in the stadium. He was going to be miserable or very excited coming in here. It's 47-42. Somehow the Cincinnati Bengals managed to play a Big 12 game from 10 years ago every single week where there's no defense. They turned the Jets into a Big 12 offense. They turned the Bears into a Big 12 offense. They turned the Steelers into a Big 12 offense. They don't care. So the Bears moved to 5-3 with the win. Bengals fall to 3-6, and it was a wild one. Where do you
Insane.
even start with this?
Yeah, utterly crazy. I mean, remember we were like a couple of weeks removed from being like Dennis Allen's Bears defense showed up and absolutely murdered Spencer Rattler. And the question was that just a revenge week for Dennis Allen, or, is the Bears defense actually going to show up and be a real force? I mean, they got absolutely blowtorched by 40-plus-year-old Joe Flacco with a bump shoulder, rocks up and throws for 470 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like, I don't understand what kind of black magic Joe Flacco's got cooking this season since getting traded to Cincinnati, but I'm giving up predicting it. I mean, it's just, okay, apparently Joe Flacco is now just the greatest quarterback in the NFL. And I don't understand it, but I'm giving up questioning it. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, I mean, apparently just putting the ball in the air is all you need to do. Just throw it up there, let them go make a play. Like, that one play, multiple plays actually in this game. T. Higgins was nuts in this game. One play down the sideline where Nashawn Wright just kind of runs off the field and T. Higgins just catches the ball and runs in. That was pretty impressive. The other one, though, where it was a Brisker, he goes up, catches the ball at the high point, and Brisker is like all over him and like ripping at his arms to take the ball away. You're like, there's no way he's coming down with that. And the ball never even moves in his hands. Like, the hand strength to maintain through that level of contact and come up with the football was absolutely crazy. Both those guys had over 100 yards. Just unbelievable output for an old quarterback with a busted shoulder.
But Higgins and Chase are so good. The other 2-yard touchdown by Higgins, too, which I don't know what it was ruled originally, but they called it a touchdown. Not the body control that Higgins has, like on that Nashawn Wright touchdown, body control plus hands. The hands that you mentioned against Brisker, the 2-yard touchdown to be able to like catch it and just barely get the ball over the pylon. Remember was it against the Vikings a couple years ago on the Saturday game where Higgins caught it and then just took the ball and extended it over the goal line for the touchdown? I mean, there's so much very George Pickens-like to Higgins. Mm-hmm. Body control plus hand strength plus just overall feel for getting the ball where it needs to go for a touchdown. It's unbelievable. So that's all a factor in Joe Flacco throwing for 470 yards and 4 touchdowns. This game looked like it was over, right, Will?
Should have been over.
Looked like it was over when Tremaine Edmonds picks it off.
Diving interception.
In the red zone.
Breaks in front of a guy. And this was the first, the remarkable thing about Joe Flacco so far this season had been how little he put the ball in harm's way and, had been incredibly clean in terms of that. This was the first one where you're like, that's a bad play. They're down, they're throwing the ball, they're trying to come back, and he just, Tremaine Edmonds reads it really well, jumps the route, but that's a ball that he wants back.
And so Tremaine Edmonds picks it off. Would it have gone for a touchdown?
Yeah.
Pick six?
He picked six. He housed it. It looked like he picked six. End of the game.
95-yard interception return for a touchdown. Would have put the Bears up 3 scores. However, down by contact.
Yeah. On the way to the ground, having dived in front of the guy, he was brushed on the way down, so he's down by contact.
So Cincinnati still has life. And then the They had a 2-play 56-yard touchdown drive, a 4-play 55-yard touchdown drive. The defense in the fourth quarter. Again, this was like Big 12, 10 to 15 years ago, Mahomes versus Mayfield, old school Texas Tech. Nobody's playing defense. It looks like the defense is playing with 10 players on the field, coverage busts left and right. Like that's what it feels like every week. Every week for the Cincinnati Bengals, by the way. But it's 41-27, and the Bengals do the thing that the Jets did to them last week. You're down 14, Cincinnati, score a touchdown, you go for 2 and get it to make it a 6-point game. And it's like, all right, you just need to stop and another touchdown. And with 58 seconds left,
and now you can take the lead.
You take the lead. Flacco to Josivash, finally caught one. 9-yard touchdown. Bengals go up 42-41.
Close.
Stadium rocking, Will, when the Bengals took the lead?
Oh, yeah.
He says yes. Look at that. That's the type of insight you get. When you send the bugler on site, that's what you get.
Fans were gone.
The fans were – did some fans leave?
It was empty.
So the Cincinnati Bengals fans left early.
You get good
and rightfully so.
You get good old-fashioned, honest reporting from the bugler, not like some other people out there.
Not like some other people out there. We're not going to put fake captions up there to mislead you.
This was just a crazy game from start to finish. Remember, it started with Charlie Jones housing the opening kickoff for a touchdown. Big moment for my neighbor, by the way, who it turns out I live pretty close to, I think, the assistant special teams coach or something like that. So, huge day for him.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Yeah.
Charlie Jones scores on a touchdown. The Bears answer with a sort of methodical offensive drive, which ends with like a Philly special touchdown, right? Caleb Williams ends the game with 2 more catches than Rome Odunze did, which is pretty crazy.
So much of this just doesn't make sense.
None of it makes any sense. The Bears had 283 rushing yards and 293 passing yards. Like what? 283 rushing yards, and they only win the game with like a late, crazy bounce around tight end rumbling touchdown.
So it's 42-41, as Will has reported here on behalf of the bugler.
Yeah.
Bengals fans had given up. Many fans had left the stadium. They did not get to see the 14-point comeback, but 15 points late to take the lead. And maybe they were better off because with 25 seconds left. Now, look, the Bears just needed to get into field goal range, maybe to kick a game-winning field goal. But they didn't want to deal with that. 58 yards to Colston Loveland. Very similar to the Bengals giving up a 60-something yarder to Pat Freiermuth with the game on the line. The number of wide-open holes and just insanely poor tackling from the Bengals over the last few weeks. Credit Colston Loveland, though. 58-yard, an absolute strike from Caleb Williams. Probably would have put them right on the fringe of field goal range anyway.
Right. They were going for the field goal. They just
But then Loveland just
touchdown.
Runs through the defense.
Right.
58 yards for the touchdown to go up 47-42. And then they fail on the 2-point conversion. But that was it for the Bears.
Yeah, crazy play. I mean, it was an absolute dime by Caleb Williams. I mean, credit him for it was, pass up the seam into the hole, perfect play, would have put them in field goal range. Like it's the play they wanted to get themselves in a position to win the game with a field goal. And then Jordan Battle just comes up and has a pathetic tackle attempt where he just, classic, I'm just going to hit him instead of tackling him. And you hit him and you don't take him to the ground, well, then he keeps going. And now he scored a touchdown. So brutal play. I mean, both safeties. Like, Battle comes up and hits him instead of tackling him. Geno Stone comes up and, just sort of watches it happen in front of him, doesn't touch him at all, and then ends up trailing the play. Both safeties should have had that bottled up, and neither one of them managed to stop him.
You mentioned the 283 rushing yards for the Bears. Kyle Monangai, 26 carries for 176. Outstanding for the 7th-rounder out of Rutgers. And then a couple other individual plays that I wanted to call that had, little, not massive impact in a 47-42 game, but Theo Benedet, the Canadian left tackle.
Canada.
Block. I mean, I will reiterate, the Bengals' second-level defenders, their safeties and linebackers, have been atrocious this season, especially in the run game. but Theo blocked Geno Stone, I think almost to your house in Anderson.
Nice.
All the way into the crowd on one play. And then there was a 4th and 1 earlier on. I was actually watching Odunze on the play, and right next to him. So Odunze wrecked the safety again to help set up a 4th and 1. And on that play, Darnell Wright had one of the blocks of the year. I'm sure you'll see it on social media if you haven't already. He took Shamar Stewart for a ride. It looked like It looked like Darnell Wright against a high schooler, against first-rounder Shamar Stewart. Stewart was lined up over the guard. He's more of an edge-type player, but he's a power player, and Darnell Wright absolutely deposited him on that 4th and 1. So it was an easy pickup for the Bears early in the game because of Odunze and Darnell Wright. So, again, Bengals, awful at the point of attack. They also didn't get a ton of quick pressure, and it felt like Caleb Williams was always running for his life. I know when you're watching a game, you're like, man, the offensive line's terrible. Caleb Williams is still in this weird dynamic where there's like a clean pocket, and he's like moving around and ducking. And I know the stats were great. He ended up playing a good game overall, but I'm still looking for that balance of in rhythm plays and outside of structure plays. Williams finished his 20 of 34 for 280 and 3 touchdowns, including that one to Loveland. But it was a tap pass to Zacchaeus was one of the touchdowns and everything. But he also caught one. 2 catches for 22 yards and a touchdown for Caleb Williams in this one. As you mentioned, Odunze, no catches. Just so much weird in this game. 47-42 for the Bears.
Yeah, like I said, 2 more catches than Odunze. He only had 1 fewer target than Odunze in the game. It's crazy.
And Will reminds us, too, the Bengals challenged the DJ Moore 1-yard touchdown. So this was to go up 2 scores. He gets into the end zone. It looked like it could have been a touchback. And that would have been one of those wild plays, right, where it's like you either go up 2 scores or you give the ball to the defense, and it's still a 1-score game. But they did end up calling it a touchdown.
But they called it short initially, right? Yeah. So that ended up being like the worst possible outcome of a challenge. You think they call it short.
Oh, right. That's right. They called it short,
thinking you're going to get the turnover,
right,
and you end up actually conceding a touchdown.
Right. So
off your own challenge.
The Bengals challenged, hoping it was going to become a touchback, and they ended up saying, nope, it's a touchdown.
Your challenge turned it from a play short of the end zone into a touchdown.
Yes.
That's not great.
Man, it was wild. Will, what else? What did we miss?
We don't have time.
We don't have time. How was the heart rate throughout the game?
It was crazy. It was a true roller coaster.
Will brought his dad. Dad's a diehard Bears fan, just enjoying all the fun.
And the Bengals, by the way, have now undone all of the good work they did with that upset win at Pittsburgh, right? It's like that game, Joe Flacco balling out, saved their season. They should still be alive now, given their schedule for a while, long enough maybe that Joe Burrow coming back, like Gandalf, riding down the hill to save the day. No. Instead, they blew a game against the Jets. They had a chance in this game, didn't get it done, and suddenly they're 3-6. Their season may be done already, and they're now potentially open to trading away Trey Hendrickson, et cetera.
Yeah, and Hendrickson hasn't played in a few weeks. He's been banged up, but, is there any sense in even keeping him around other than a comp pick? When you can, like the Dolphins just did with Jaelan Phillips, you could get something locked in and maybe even something higher than a
And he doesn't have an owner's contract to trade away because you couldn't get anything done. So,
right. So something to keep an eye on here for Cincinnati, right? Like we looked at the upset win against Pittsburgh and said you have the Jets and then a winnable game against the Bears at home, and they lost both games at home for the Bengals. Congrats to the Bears, man. 5-3 and finding ways to win despite some just craziness all around. I mean, I had all these notes from the first half of the game. It's like, doesn't even matter.
Nah, it doesn't. Yeah,
it doesn't matter at all.
Junk him.
I like the comment when I was saying, man, they're playing this Big 12 game that someone sent me, which is like, I can't believe this is the same sport as what the Denver Broncos and Houston Texans were playing, because it did look completely different. The Denver Broncos get the win 18-15 over the Texans. Broncos move to 7-2. Texans fall to 3-5. The big stories here, first off, Broncos pulling off another win, moving to 7-2. Texans lose C.J. Stroud pretty early in the game, gets knocked out of the game with a little half slide. We could talk about that play and some of the specifics there, but Davis Mills had to come in with the C.J. Stroud concussion.
Yeah. And kind of unfortunate because, well, I mean, not just kind of, but unfortunate, number one, because you lose C.J. Stroud to to a concussion. Number two, Stroud was actually doing pretty well early in this game. Like we knew that Denver's defense is amazing, the best pass rush in the NFL. It was going to cause all kinds of problems for them. The ball was coming out fast early for Stroud and for the Texans. They had a 14-play opening drive, or the 14th play of the opening drive. There was a 3rd and 5. They got the first sack, missed a field goal, nothing to show for it. But like they were actually moving the ball and showing that they could execute despite that defense. Now, would that have lasted for the entire game, or would it, the wheels have come off that? It's like a high wire act. Maybe not, but the fact that they were able to do it to begin with was an encouraging sign.
So what did you make of the Stroud play? So he's scrambling, he's falling toward the ground, but he's not really sliding. He's more like flopping on his back. He gets hit pretty hard. Head hits the ground. It's a big hit. And then they overturned the flag. They originally called it a flag because it looked bad. And then they overturned it, and I think it was the right call because he wasn't really sliding. And he looked like he was half in, half out trying to slide. And, D'Amico Ryans and the Texans don't love it, of course. They were on the other end of it with
Right.
Alshire last year hitting Trevor Lawrence on the slide and getting suspended. I think it was the right call, though, because Stroud didn't really give himself up, and he looked hesitant, and that's the danger in either late sliding or not definitively giving yourself up. I think the officials actually got this right.
I mean, it was certainly nothing like the Alshire Trevor Lawrence play, right? Like that was a case of Lawrence slides, and then so late after that, Alshire comes in and just blasts him, and you're like, that is egregious. This was not that at all. This was a case, I think, where even if you say the slide is legit and it's all fine and that should be protected, it was so close to the slide where he hit him. Like, it's just the case. The only reason it was in any way, shape, or form iffy is because the hit was so hard that it was like a really powerful hit and ends up knocking him out of the game. But this was a classic. The NFL loves this term. It's a bang-bang play, right? Like, it was so close to him deciding that he was sliding or not that I don't think you can reasonably expect the guy not to deliver the hit. It was also kind of from the side, so it's not even like a head-on thing where you have to be expecting the quarterback to slide, basically. Like, he's coming in from the side. You've basically earned the right to hit him at that point, I think, unless the quarterback clearly, gives you the heads up that the slide is coming and you can pull up. I think it was just a football play.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know we give a lot of crap to the officials because we focus on the misses. I think they've done a better job. I don't want to say over-policing because I hate that Stroud got hurt. I mean, obviously you don't want that. And you said it wasn't anything like the Lawrence play last year. It was in result, obviously. It was a hard hit, head hits the ground. Like, it looked bad. It looked similar as far as the result. But you're right. It was different in mechanically.
And it wasn't like a hit to the head. It was just a hard hit.
It was a hard hit,
right.
And then he hit. But I think it's kind of on Stroud for not clearly. Like, you could tell he was thinking it. He was hesitating, right? And quarterbacks deal with that all the time as they approach the first down marker. Do you want to be that QB that slides 1 yard short or 2 yards short versus diving head first? But you got to stay healthy too. Like, you got to definitively give yourself up to protect yourself. But what I was going to say is I think the NFL's done a better job of understanding physics, understanding what defenders can and can't control, understanding that the quarterback has a hand in protecting themselves, and I think they've done a much better job along the sideline, other than like the Edgerrin Cooper play. Didn't he hit Bryce Young inbounds? But most of the time when
They picked up the flag, though.
they did, okay, I turned my head from it. Most of the time when a defender hits the quarterback along the sideline and he's still in bounds, they're not overly policing that as they used to and like shoving and pushing after the play. I think they're doing a better job of losing some of the silly penalties that they were giving out just for like, oh, it's late hit, it's a quarterback if it's anything close to the sideline. They're doing a better job of that, I think.
The funniest example of a quarterback sort of, you could see the thought process in work at real time was Aaron Rodgers yesterday at one point.
Yeah.
Took off running in the tight red zone, thought he could scramble in for the touchdown, realized midway through, there's actually multiple Colts players that I'm not going to outrun because I'm old. And you could literally see him being like, do I launch at this goal line? Do I just turtle up and, hope they don't hit me. What do I do? And then just like hit the ground and multiple Colts like dive towards him. That was like, you could see the whole thing, like time slowed down. You could see him go through multiple options in his brain before finally just sort of hitting the ground and hoping he didn't get hit.
That's the one thing I did not get to experience as a professional athlete is feel like
getting hit.
No, feeling my skills diminish in front of my eyes. Like I retired because I just wasn't good enough generally. Yeah. Didn't matter if my skills diminished. It was time. It's time to get married and go work in football. But you got to imagine that's difficult, right? Like you feel the same. You're like, your body just doesn't. I used to be able, like that's a touchdown for Rodgers probably as a scramble 5 years ago.
It's
whatever.
Particularly when it's a speed thing that goes. If you had speed at any point and suddenly the speed is not there, there's a weird feeling where like things that you just don't make the place you use. Your brain doesn't adapt for some reason. Your brain never catches up to the fact that your body has slowed down. So you see something and you read the same angles, only you just don't make it to the same point anymore. So you get beaten by guys that you used to be faster than. It's a horrible feeling.
So anyway, obviously that's a huge play in the game. Davis Mills comes in, hits a bomb to Nico Collins, but the offense did struggle overall with him in there. I think Mills is a fine backup. But to your point, like the Texans had some rhythm, good start. You lose that with Stroud going out. They never really got the run game going to balance things out. But it was a good defensive battle this entire game, and then the Broncos pull their usual fourth quarter magic. So we talked about Bo Nix, man, he's so funny. All of it. He was 2 for 11 on 20-plus yard throws and 0 for 7 on 30-plus yard throws. And in the 30-plus yard throws, had one interception in there, but could have had a couple others. It felt like every time you're watching the game, you're like, there's an open receiver deep, and then the ball comes up like 10 yards short, and like the Kalen Bullock interception was just way short, and is usually our guy Troy Franklin who had a couple steps on the defense. But Bo was missing short. It wasn't a Bofer throw. It was a Bunder throw? What was it? He was just underthrowing some of these deep passes early on, but he did hit the two key ones. I think his 2 touchdowns, a beauty to Cortland Sutton before the half.
What happened in that play? Derek Stingley looked like he was expecting a safety to exist that wasn't.
I don't know. I didn't look at the wide angle specifically. Then R.J. Harvey on one of those wheel routes for a touchdown as well. So the 2 for 11, like the throws that Bo Nix hit were huge. And then in a 15-15 game, of course, Bo Nix with his legs, man, just a beautiful scramble, 25 yards to set up the eventual game-winning field goal. The Texans had done a really nice job bottling up Nix. They roll him out to his right. Texans rush gets upfield just a little bit. Nix reads it great, runs back across the field, back the other way where there's nobody. And I'll just say the moving pocket for mobile quarterbacks is such a weapon. I usually hate the sprint out. But if you start to use that to your favor scrambling, like Nix did, and I want to talk about the Mahomes 4th and 17 later, it feels like another weapon offensive coordinators can tap into, which is just moving the pocket, but also fake moving the pocket and just like really, like if you have great pass rushers, keeping them off balance by moving the pocket around, and there's creative ways to do that. I thought that was just an example of Broncos move the pocket, Texans get upfield, and Nix takes advantage, and that set up his 2 runs, the scramble, and then the patented Bo Nix sweep route now, QB sweep with Bo Nix to set up the Will Lutz game winner.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like when they get late in the game and they need something to happen, Bo Nix just takes over scrambling or using his athleticism. It's kind of amazing how much they lean on that late in the game. It looks like, Sutton, I think, just beats Stingley with an inside release. I think Stingley's expecting his release to go back outside, and then when it doesn't, he's just trailing by a couple of yards, and Sutton outruns him for the touchdown. It's an absolute dime by Bo Nix. It's also Danielle Hunter is like a fraction of a second away from destroying that play. He beats Garrett Bowles, I think, around the outside and literally grabs hold of Nix's shoulder pad as he's delivering the ball and tosses him to the floor.
That's a great throw.
If that's a split second later, Danielle Hunter breaks the play and we get nothing.
I mean, that's why last week someone bringing up the Bo Nix discourse is all over the place because, again, it's like, man, some good, some bad. The deep ball was all over the place outside of those 2 throws to Sutton and Harvey. I also thought the other key play in the game, they were trying to feed Troy Franklin in this game. 10 official targets from the NFL, four catches for 27 yards. But one of Bo Nix's best throws was the 2-point conversion.
A 2-pointer.
To Troy Franklin. Strong hands from Franklin to catch it. That was a key one as well. So just enough plays from Bo Nix in this passing game for the Broncos.
Yeah, absolutely. They did. I mean, both defenses played really well. We expected it for Denver's defense. Houston's defense showed that they're at that kind of caliber as well. I was just checking. I think Chicago had more yards of offense than both these teams combined.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
It is amazing how different defenses can look generally. Like the Bengals in particular, I always describe it as it feels like you're playing with 10 men sometimes. There's always an open gap in the run game or wide open holes in the pass game, and you just don't – you see that from a couple defenses every year, the Cowboys, the Bengals this year. And then on the other hand, it's almost like every pass feels contested against good defenses, right? Every pass feels like a challenge. Every now and again you get one, obviously. But it just feels difficult. It feels like it's tight window, and it's like, man, it's a completely different game watching different defenses. That was it. Defensive type of game.
And then the other thing here is Danico Autry with blocked kicks. John Todd, NFL, has a tweet that Danico Autry is the only NFL player to block multiple kicks this season, and he didn't debut until week 7. Autry now has 14 career kick blocks, which is more than twice as many as any other player since he entered the NFL in 2014.
Unbelievable. That's the type of thing I would have him on my team just for that.
Just for that.
35
years old. And
I don't like special teams unless I know you can block kicks.
It's not, I mean, he's not.
It's incredible.
He's not like unbelievably giant. Like he's 6'5", 265. We're not talking about a guy that's like 6'10", It's not you out there trying to block kicks. Like there's no real rational reason why Danico Autry should be twice as good as any other player in the NFL through his career at blocking kicks, and yet he is.
He's always just been a good overall football player. He was like the epitome of the Vrabel Titans overachieving teams. It's like Danico Autry, 7 pressures in a game, block a kick, whatever it was to help them out. Looking ahead here, so Texans moved to 3-5. Now am I out on the Texans? See, I just screwing up my picks again because I took the Texans this week, didn't I? No, I took Denver. I don't remember. It doesn't really matter. Texans moved to 3-5, and they have a positive point differential by a lot. By a lot. Texans they're in the Panthers don't make sense category.
I think
Falcons don't make sense.
They make perfect sense.
The point differentials that it's only good because of the Ravens game.
Right. I think their season makes perfect sense.
They should be
they
should still be better.
One of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, and when they face a team that can't get pressure, they look really good. When they face a team that can get pressure, they struggle on offense, and if the other team can move the ball against a really good defense, they're in trouble.
Here's what the Broncos have coming up. They're 7-2, 1 game up on the Chargers, who are 6-3, and 2 games up on the Chiefs, who are 5-4. Broncos come back on a short week now.
The Chiefs, who are not in the playoff spots right now.
Yeah, if the playoffs started today,
no Kansas City.
The NFL loses a lot of money.
Oh, think how sad Nick Wright would be if the playoffs started today and there's just no Mahomes and the Chiefs.
I mean, if the playoffs start when they start, they might not be in it at this point. We'll see.
Nah, they will.
No, they probably will be. But here's what's at stake. The Broncos have the Raiders on a short week here. If they go to 8-2, they host Kansas City. Kansas City's on a bye. Kansas City's coming to town for Denver in 2 weeks. Chiefs are off a bye. Andy Reid off a bye. But the Broncos will be off of a Thursday game.
What are those numbers now? Because they've been making that point since he was with the Eagles.
I don't know. They just does the bye count for the Super Bowl? Like they just got smoked off the bye last year at the Super Bowl, so that must count, right? Or like after the extra week.
I don't know. It
doesn't matter. But if the Broncos go into that game 8-2 against a 5-4 Chiefs team, and they get the win, you have a chance to put the Chiefs at 500, 11 weeks into the season, and put some distance. There's a lot at stake for Denver.
I mean, you might be able to knock them out of the playoffs.
We might
not like officially, mathematically, but you might be the reason they don't make the playoffs.
Might need to get Perna on the show and talk Broncos here. headed into the Chiefs game. We should do Perna and Nick Wright head to head. Would that be some good football? Some good analysis, some good sports? That could be. Anything else on this one?
Nope.
All right, we got to talk Chargers, Titans, right?
Sure. But before we do that, we should tell people to check out the membership options.
I keep forgetting. Yeah. Tell everybody about the membership options.
Yeah, we have 3 different membership options, all of which deserve your attention. They deserve, you should have a look at them at least. The middle of which, you get your name on the wall of the Check the Mic. I almost did it again. It registered in my brain. I was like, no, don't do that this time.
Check the Mic. CTM.
Check the Mic
Check
studio over there where Will is sitting. The wall has names written on it. Those are our insider members. And we've had a bunch of them fly in over the weekend. 4 new names, I think, went up this morning. So, yeah, check out the membership options.
That's great. Loading up the wall. Mm-hmm. And so if you see the people in the chat right now with the green name,
yep,
those are our members. They get some special emojis to use.
I'm already reaching a point where I don't know where to go with the names. Like, I've got a nice, neat kind of rectangle working here, and the more names get added, the more, I don't know if I keep working down, but then I get towards the internet box down there, or if I start working up towards the Check the Mic studio, title thing there. I don't know where to go with the names.
So go check out, click join, and you'll get to at least read about the membership options and take a look.
Mm-hmm.
Chargers 27, Titans 20. Chargers move to 6-3, AFC West. Titans fall to 1-8. Early pick 6.
Yep.
For the Titans. Punt return for a touchdown, Chimera DK. But other than that, Titans couldn't get much going offensively, and Chargers made a couple big plays in the pass game to get the victory.
Yeah, I mean, those are, 2 non-offensive touchdowns or huge plays. You're thinking those are the types of things that need to happen for a game like this to be an upset, and it still never really felt like it was likely to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless Herbert had imploded and had another couple of turnovers, it never really felt like it was in doubt. But it did make the game at least competitive for a much longer period of time than you thought it would be.
Yeah, so a couple stories come out of this. I thought, one of the reasons I thought Tennessee kept it close, they did a nice job rushing the passer. They don't have great man-for-man pass rushers. They've got some solid players, but they've done a nice job. They did a nice job in this game, at least, collapsing the offensive line. I wrote both teams had several just no-chance plays from the offensive line. And that, I thought, helped keep the Titans in this game. Sacked Herbert, 5 times in this one?
Yeah, well, the Chargers, of course, went back to having that, offensive line riddled by injuries. Joe Alt has one of the most ridiculous, you hear all the time about offensive linemen getting rolled up on.
Yeah.
Joe Alt had a body launch its way into the back of his legs, coming from absolutely nowhere. Like the other side of the formation, a guy gets a shove in the back and just torpedoes into Joe Alt's legs from behind. Poor guy had no shot whatsoever of seeing it coming. I'm not saying it's a dirty play, he got shoved on the way of doing it, but when you saw it initially, you're like, where did that guy even come from? It's not a case of, sometimes you see the sort of the pass rushers and the offensive tackles, they both sort of circle the pocket and end up meeting in the middle on the backside. This wasn't that. Joe Alt's just blocking his guy, and then a body just launches from nowhere at his legs, takes him out. So all of a sudden, we've been talking about the difference that Joe Alt makes to this offensive line simply by himself. I mean, he's back out of the lineup. You're back into, Jamari Sawyer out there. It's just, it's a problem when you have that group without Joe Alt in there. And, even a team like Tennessee that doesn't have the best pass rush in the NFL can cause problems in that situation.
Yeah, so that's where I've got some concerns about the Chargers here going forward. They've got the Steelers next week at home. They've got the Jags.
And that's a much tougher ask.
Yes. You've got the Chiefs, in a rematch. They got the Eagles in a few weeks. Chargers are sitting here at 6-3. I think they're a very good team, shown some weakness against better teams in recent weeks. They beat the Chiefs way back in week 1, beat the Broncos in week 3, right? They pulled off some important wins early in the season, but second half of the season without Joe Alt, already lost Rashawn Slater, of course, at the beginning of the season. It could be a challenge. I think they've got the pass catchers now To offset it, you still got big plays from Arondé Gadsden. What an absolute dime from Justin Herbert to Quentin Johnston for a touchdown in there as well. So maybe you can offset it by getting rid of the ball quickly, getting the ball to guys who are getting open. But the offensive line is going to be a concern here, I think, for the Chargers.
Yeah, the interception was sort of uncharacteristically bad by Justin Herbert, but overall I thought he looked really good in the game.
Was that a miscommunication too?
It could have been. That would explain why a guy that typically doesn't make those types of plays made it. But Herbert overall I thought looked really good in the game, and he's been so good scrambling. Like, he's so hard to stop, to bottle up and contain. We saw that in recent weeks where he's able to individually just negate whatever defense is being deployed by his scrambling ability, his ability to break, contain, break the pocket, and pick. I mean, he was their leading rusher in the game, as well as what he was doing passing the ball.
Yeah, Herbert had a 29-yarder that set up another touchdown, his own 1-yard scramble for a touchdown. He did a really nice job with his legs. When Herbert is healthy, you're right. It's like I think he had a 70-yarder at Oregon early in his career, where it was like, yeah, this is the type of speed and arm strength and everything that the NFL is looking for.
And the only worry is,
and you're seeing it this year.
How long does he stay healthy with an offensive line that
Right.
keeps getting banged up and injured and down to the backups? Like, you worry for that just the worse that offensive line gets seems to just be putting on a clock the amount of healthy Justin Herbert we're going to get. But healthy Justin Herbert is phenomenal and a huge difference maker.
For the Titans, again, I thought they played hard defensively, kept it close. We'll see if they end up doing anything at the trade deadline today or tomorrow. Cam Ward finishes with 12 completions, but also sacked 4 times. It's just another typical, like, there were some good throws in there. Found Io Manor over the middle. Nice throw to Gunnar Helm that was caught. Just not consistent offense from the Titans, and I don't know how much we're learning from Cam Ward right now, or about Cam Ward.
I know. We get there's a couple of plays every game where it's really nice. It looks great. But there's a couple of weird plays every game as well, whether it's dropping the football randomly or whether there was a play here where it just came out of his hand funky and dropped like 5 yards short of its intended target. You're like, what? I don't understand what happened in this play.
Yeah. So anyway, just looking for some semblance of consistency from the Titans. It might be a challenge right now. I thought their offensive line got beat up a little bit. They've been up and down, I would say, this year, the Titans' offensive line. I know the sack total is high for Cam Ward, but a lot of that is on him. I'm curious about Kevin Zeitler at right guard for teams that might, Lions, could probably use a guard again. Zeitler going back, I saw Ben Solak potentially suggest that. Seahawks maybe if they wanted to go. Upgrade at right guard. I wonder if Zeitler is another guy that could be available for the Titans, but you also don't want to lose a veteran that's in front of Cam Ward at this time of the year.
Rent a lineman.
Yeah. There's just not many linemen available.
Scott Matlock with you gotta love anytime you get the comedy 300-pound fullback / defensive tackle touchdown, gotta love it.
Beautiful thing. Herbert to Matlock touchdown. So Chargers 6-3. They get the Steelers next week. Sunday Night Football should be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go one more 1 o'clock game. San Francisco 49ers defeat the New York Giants 34-24. Giants move to 6-3. I'm sorry, Niners move to 6-3. Giants fall to 2-7. Mac Jones completed his first 14 or so passes. I lost track after a while. It was a banner week for consecutive completions.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold,
another
Mac
thing.
Jones.
We're at a golden age.
Golden age of consecutive completions. What was the stat I pulled last night in the instant reaction? At one point, Mac Jones had more bloody noses than incompletions. And efficient.
Stat?
What?
Is that a stat?
I just made it up.
Okay.
I missed the boat, by the way, during the Bengals game because they've got 9 million stats about how they scored a ton of points, but they gave up more than they scored, and that's never happened since the 60s or the 30s or the 20s.
Yeah.
Bengals are the first team to score 38-plus in back-to-back games and lose both since the 66 Giants.
66 Giants.
I missed all the good Bengals stats because they've got some special futility stats. But anyway, Niners looked really efficient on offense once again.
Yeah. And this is the Niners offense looks good. They're getting healthier. Was Purdy the emergency quarterback for this game? They're thinking he might be back next week. McCaffrey looked good. They're getting their offensive weapons back, and when that offense is healthy, it's still extremely talented and able to put up points. So that part looked really good for them. The flip side of that, of course, is the Giants' defense. Outside of making like a play or two here, like they almost had their own version of that play that the Falcons had, where two edge rushers combined for the turnover. Brian Burns got pressure on Mac Jones, and Abdul Carter goes up and gets the ball and high points it and ends up with, it's one of those ones where it doesn't matter if it's an interception or a fumble at that point.
They called that strip sack, right?
It's like whatever it is, it doesn't matter anymore.
We know the defense has the ball.
Right, the ball doesn't hit the ground. It's just what you categorize it as.
It affects your passer rating
somewhere.
Or it might not.
But anyway, they go and combine for the turnover and set them up. Even with a play like that, the defense just got gashed, like start to finish almost.
They really did. I mean, it was another game too. Like the Giants got up early with the Theo Johnson 15-yard touchdown.
Yeah,
I feel like they start other games with a Theo Johnson 15-yard touchdown. I mean, it's like it happened twice. San Francisco Giants, San Francisco 49ers, New York Giants. It's all confusing me. It's the Giants.
Giants throwback uniforms for this game.
Yeah, this was Joe Montana versus Phil Simms.
Yeah,
this was great. It was a great battle. But it was another Kyle Shanahan gets Christian McCaffrey wide open for a 5-yard touchdown across the formation. Juwan Jennings just dominates on a whip route for a touchdown for the Niners. Then the strip sack kind of brought them back into it. I thought the Niners run blocking was outstanding. Brian Robinson had an 18-yard touchdown in there and just wrecks the entire second level tackling of the Giants. Giants just kept trying to come back in at Dart with a 6-yard touchdown to get within 10. But the Niners came right back with a big kickoff return and then a 39-yard catch for Christian McCaffrey on a coverage bust. So you're right, like the Giants defense, they've been confusing because they've had those games where it felt like you felt the defensive line making an impact and all of the talent that they've added. In a game like this, it just felt like they gave up way too many big plays, some non-competitive plays for the Giants defense in this game.
Yeah, and that's a concern for them. That defensive line is supposed to be a dominant force in any given game. Jackson Dart's, I think, still looking very good, and he's undermanned in terms of the supporting cast he has around him. Obviously, Scadaboo's injury taking him out, the lack of Malik Neighbors being down. Like the playmakers on offense are not what they should be around Jackson Dart, but you're still encouraged by what he's doing. But this defense has just given up so much the last few weeks. They need to be better on that side.
Yeah, 53 yards on just 5 carries for Brian Robinson. And then McCaffrey had 106 on his 28 carries. The Niners just did a really good job. They dominated up front. And I think the Giants still rushed the passer well overall, but they got gashed in the run game and just too many big plays, or easy plays, I should say, for the Niners in the pass game. So if this is the end of Mac Jones, he's filled in admirably.
Yeah.
For was it 1 loss or 2 losses for the Niners here with Mac? But he has been very efficient, run the offense well, put the ball in harm's way a couple times, but essentially got the ball to their playmakers, took advantage of having McCaffrey as a receiving weapon, and he's done a really nice job filling in for Purdy.
He has. I mean, he's sort of rebuilt his reputation a lot in this stint. He's got a 2-year deal, I think, with the 49ers, so it's not like he can be next year's reclamation project for somebody, but he's kind of put himself in the shop window of, anyone now trying to replicate the Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, the carousel of reclamation projects has got to at least be considering Mac Jones as a guy who's capable of doing that.
Another costly injury for the Niners. So they brought in Keon White to rush the passer from the Patriots, trade last week. They lose first-rounder Michael Williams, though, to an injury probably for the year. So are the Niners going to try to make another move here for another pass rusher? They're already depleted and generally struggling to get pressure up front.
Yeah, I mean, definitely struggling to get pressure up front. It's kind of brutal that, their injuries on defense keep taking guys out for the year. At least on offense, all the players are theoretically coming back at some point. It's just, we're missing him for a while. Every guy they lose on defense is like, and that's an immediate done for the season.
No, everything is for the year for the Niners. So they're 6-3. Their upcoming schedule here, San Francisco, the NFC West, man, the battle. They're all going to be playing each other. 6-3 Niners. They're going to play the Rams next week in their rematch. The Rams and Seahawks are going to play in a couple weeks. So the NFC West starting to come to a head here. But the Niners have some opportunities. They got Rams next week, but then Cardinals, Panthers, Browns the 3 following weeks. They're sitting here at 6-3. Then the Titans too after their bye. So Niners have a workable schedule here. And Purdy coming back. I still think Brock Purdy's better than Mac Jones, right? I think that's a fair assessment.
Think he has been, but it is, I think,
but he hasn't played better than Mac necessarily this year.
It's a real question about whether he will be when he comes back. Like, that's the thing. I think Purdy has absolutely shown a higher ceiling even within this offense than Mac Jones has, but he wasn't playing better football than Mac Jones has been this season before he got hurt, albeit in extremely small sample sizes. So I think it's a real question about, are they going to be downgrading, at least initially, when Purdy comes back into the lineup? Or, similar to other quarterbacks, does the time being down with this toe injury serve as some kind of reset for Brock Purdy, and he comes back and just looks comfortable again and playing his best football?
And then for the Giants, really quick, we were talking about, did Jackson Dart save Brian Daboll's job and all this? Like, they're still sitting here at 2-7.
Yeah.
I think Dart has shown a lot, and I think it's also fair. He also was the leading rusher for the Giants with 56 yards. It's also fair to say you've lost Scattaboo. Who you throwing to? You got no Malik Neighbors. Dart could play great every week, but I don't think it's ever going to really show up. They don't have the playmakers right now. And so I don't know what you learn, and I don't know what you learn about Daboll and the Giants. I mean, if they keep losing, is it a whole new regime, or you just run it back and say, we need better players? we need Neighbors back and better players. It's going to be a tough spot here for the Giants. I think if they really get blown out and underachieve, they might just have to make a change.
I mean, I think the defense has got to be getting to be a concern at this point. Like, it should be performing better than it's been. The offense, you can at least say, look, we have a rookie quarterback who's without his number one receiver, whose running back went down, and the offensive line isn't amazing to begin with. I think you can reasonably say this offense is performing as expected, and the issues are personnel rather than, coaching. Defense, I think you can say, look, this personnel should be playing better than this, and if it isn't, we've got to start asking some coaching questions. Whether or not that filters its way to Daboll as the head coach, I think is up for debate. But yeah, it's an interesting kind of self-evaluation for the Giants down the stretch and then into the offseason.
All right, before we get to the 4 p.m.s, quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage. But when Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. While you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors. After a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or lock your keys in the car, Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. 4 o'clock window, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars 30-29 win over the Raiders in overtime. Jags move to 5-3. Raiders fall to 2-6. It was a failed 2-point conversion. Raiders went for the win in overtime. Jags hold on, though, to get the W.
You think there are any teams that would play for the tie in that situation?
No, I don't think so. There's really no benefit to the tie, right?
No, not at all. Zero benefit.
The only way is if you had a playoff spot on the line.
I mean, the only benefit is not losing the game.
Yes.
The only way would be if it's a tiebreaker thing on the final game of the season.
But a tie,
where a tie wins it and a loss doesn't.
A loss doesn't hurt you as much as a win helps you.
Got it.
Figure that one out.
Yeah. No,
so they went for the win.
That's the only situation would be a tiebreaker situation where a tie is enough to make the playoffs and a loss isn't, and you just kick it and take the tie and get out of there.
Oh, that Raiders-Chargers game a couple years ago, they could have tied and gone to the playoffs. They just should have. Oh, we really should have done that. Just taken they went to, didn't they go to overtime in that one?
Yeah.
That game was insane.
That was the game. Wasn't that the game where Justin Herbert was insane? Like
Yes.
in the game with absurd 4th and 9 conversion. Like,
Yes.
nuts. Anyway.
That was fun. Anyway. Cam Little.
68-yarder. Record.
Asterisk.
New
kicking
You want
balls.
an asterisk next to every kick this year because of the K ball.
Every kick this
rule.
year. Cam Little has set an NFL record, 68 yards.
It's only an asterisk
Field
if they realize that they juice the ball and change the rule and go back and we have 1 year of like juice kicking
True.
balls.
Which they
it's
might.
not an asterisk
They might
if
need
they've
to.
just changed it to this and now this is the K ball from now on.
Just the second longest kick that Cam Little's made in game action this year.
Yes.
Since he had a 70-yarder in the preseason.
Genuinely, like it's just a matter of time and opportunity before this record is 70 plus and maybe significantly ahead of 70. Multiple kickers have 70 plus in them at this stage. Cam Little has 70 plus in him. We've already seen him hit 70 in the preseason. This one was from 68 and it was good from a few yards more than that. Good for him. Like a guy that already showed he should have a 70-yard kick into his name. He's now 68. I imagine the NFL is kind of happy that Justin Tucker's name is no longer attached to records, and they have to talk about a guy
Maybe
that's
that's
got
why
that kind of current legal wrangling attached to his name, shall we say? So that's good. Good for Cam Little.
Good for Cam Little. That was this is what got the Jags back on the scoreboard. Trevor Lawrence with an awful red zone interception early on. He timed it up well. It was right as the 1 o'clock games were like really finishing up, and then the
He
Chiefs
buried his interception in the important time.
It was
where
like
other
I'm
things were happening.
gonna take some chances at 4:25 because you got Bears Bengals finishing. They got some wild stuff happening in the ones.
Yeah.
Chiefs Bills. Everybody's tuning into that. I'm just gonna try to throw it into double coverage on the red red
that's
zone.
the kind of awareness that you want your franchise quarterback to have. If you're going to have bad plays, bury them in the witching hour.
Bury them in the witching hour when you're starting the game, not in the fourth quarter of the witching hour, but in the at the 4:05
Right.
window. Okay, the other Jags news we got to talk about. Travis Hunter. We didn't know this on Thursday when we talked about it. He got hurt at practice on Thursday.
Yeah.
And has a knee injury. He's been put on IR and more tests, I believe. I don't know if it's like a torn ACL. We don't have a report yet, but Hunter's out.
I mean, it was an immediate he's on IR thing, which is it's not exactly a good sign.
Right. So that was unfortunate. And, goes back to the whole draft decision. And if you draft one player to, like I always viewed it as, look, you've got 2 depth chart spots with Travis Hunter, wide receiver in a corner. But if he gets hurt, you lose 2 depth chart spots as well.
Yeah. I mean, inevitably, if you're asking a guy to play both ways, you are doubling the risk that he gets hurt,
Yeah, and
this didn't even happen in a game. This is just randomly in a practice on a Thursday.
Right.
Whatever happened to him, pops his knee or whatever it did to him, but immediately lands him on IR. So yeah, that's incredibly unfortunate for multiple reasons. Number one, it was looking like they were scaling up his role in offense, and we were really starting to see what Travis Hunter could do on offense. Number two, obviously, as you said, you're now losing a depth player on both sides of the ball. That's a blow. And, yeah, sucks all around.
So, yes.
Unless you're Parker Washington or De'Ami Brown.
I mean, Parker Washington, I thought he had a really nice game. He's the guy that takes a lot of the high-volume stuff. We were excited to see Hunter maybe take on more volume as he showed in the London game a couple weeks ago, but that'll have to wait. So the Jags offense, they started to get going a little bit with Parker Washington, and then the Raiders, you get a 4-touchdown game from Geno Smith. He has a bad interception, maybe blaming Michael Mayer to come back at the ball a little bit. But Monteric Brown with a really nice diving interception to start the second half that helped lead to a Jag score. But Brock Bowers, someone's offensive rookie of the year last year, 12 catches.
An AP voter, in fact.
One solitary AP voter. 12 for 127, 3 touchdowns, and just spectacular plays. I mean, football's such a funny game, Sam, right? Like, you have some teams that lose players, and they have all their backups come in, and they overachieve, and it's like, wow, good balling, good job. And then you have a Brock Bowers, and it's like, man, the Raiders' offense looks completely different when he's out there, and you have a healthy Brock Bowers. What a game from him.
But I think it makes sense. Like, if you frame it as Brock Bowers is this team's number one receiver, forget that he's a tight end or a a big slot receiver, or however you want to designate him as a receiving weapon, he's the team's number one receiver. If you take the number one receiver, an elite number one receiver, off most offenses in the NFL, it has a massive negative impact in them. Even more so when they don't have the players necessarily behind him to step up and fill that void. So Bowers coming back makes sense to have a massive impact on this team. And, he looked healthy for the first time since doing that knee injury. 13 targets, 12 catches for $127 and 3 touchdowns. Brock Bowers looked fantastic, and that absolutely changes what this offense is capable of doing.
It really does. One-handed catch in there. He was so good, man.
That catch was spectacular.
Yeah. They called it incomplete initially. It's like, no.
Yep.
He's down. He's definitely down.
That, by the way, was the only thing that stopped that from being a 0-0 game at the half. The first half to 3/4 of this game was pretty tough going.
You started to get a semblance of what we thought the Raiders could be, though, offensively, where you have Bowers, you have Genty. I know it's been a rough season for the Raiders, and they lose this game, right?
Yeah.
They did lose. But the draft discussion is so fun because, do you use a first-rounder on a tight end? Do you use your first-rounder on a running back? If there's a couple more pieces in place for the Raiders, and I know that's an if and what have you, but covering Bowers, stopping Genty, covering Genty, you had 5 catches and a touchdown. It's a challenge, man. If you just get really good, tough to cover, tough to tackle football players, that starts to add up, and I think we just started to get a semblance of what that could look like for the Raiders.
Yeah, this looked a lot more like the offense that we expected to see this season, which is, look, they've got some difficult-to-deal-with playmakers. Geno Smith is capable of impressive output as a quarterback and should not have been anywhere near as bad as he's been this season. So Geno putting up this kind of stat line, 29 of 39 for 284 yards, 4 touchdowns, an interception. And as you said, the interception, you can at least make the argument that Michael Mayer could have helped out the quarterback a bit on that play. Minimum broke it up, even if he's not going to turn it into a completion or anything. That makes a lot more sense relative to Geno Smith's last few years of his career than the first half of this season does. So I think from the Raiders' perspective, you look at this and you say, Brock Bowers coming back changes this team on offense and gives them a significantly higher floor, let alone ceiling. The defense is still a massive problem, and obviously Bowers isn't fixing that. And that was kind of what we saw late in the game and the second half. Devin White being at the core of your defense is and has always been a problem for an NFL team.
The Brock Bowers touchdown in overtime did give the Raiders the attempt to go for 2. The opportunity with 16 seconds left in overtime to kick the extra point for a tie or go for the win. They go for the win. Batted pass.
Yep.
For the win. For the
on
Jags.
An open target. Looked like he had him.
Oh, I know. I think he had him.
Yep.
Devon Hamilton. Batted pass. Trayvon Walker threw a punch. Got tossed out of this game.
He did. He had the punch.
He had a punch. Devin White threw an open hand.
Yeah, Devin White threw the Bas Rutten, right, the open hand punch, and that's okay. That's fine. You can do that, and that's just a penalty. But if you close the fist, then we got to toss you from the game.
That's correct.
Because that's NFL rules.
That's the rule, man. Punches are unacceptable.
I think they need to adapt to Pancrase rules. If you're throwing an open hand punch, it's the same. Bas Rutten showed you can knock people out doing that. So it's time to toss those guys too.
Jags moved to 5-3. They're now a game and a half behind the Colts. Colts haven't had their bye yet.
Somebody had a tweet that was multiple people had a tweet. There were varying degrees of blaming Devin White. Somebody called Josh Edwards, CBS, said, I think Devin White was negatively involved in every play once the Jags got across midfield on a touchdown drive.
That might be a listener to our podcast because I think for 5 years we tried to say, if you watch the Bucs play, does Devin White make some tackles where you're like, oh, look, there's Devin White, tackle for loss? Yes. But when there's an open receiver in the middle of the field, it's usually near 45.
Sometimes where your timeline kind of it syncs up and like everyone has the same thought in varying wordings. I had a screenshot where there were like 4 of those types of tweets. This was the most pleasantly worded of them.
But we've given that description before. He's usually in and around some bad
Mistakes.
plays for the defense. All right, anything else on that one? Raiders come back on the short week to play the Broncos. Get to watch him on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
How about that?
Cool.
The Rams get the win over the Saints, 34-10. Matthew Stafford, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Again, 24 of 32 for 281. We saw Puka Nacua come back and then also get hurt again. He had an outstanding touchdown. And then Devontae Adams. I do like how some teams around the NFL are just like, here, good luck against our very difficult to cover red zone weapons. We're just going to, the Steelers keep feeding DK Metcalf and Darnell Washington. The Rams keep feeding Devontae Adams now. Unstoppable on the goal line. 2 more touchdowns for him. And then the Rams also had 114 yards from Kyron Williams, another 58 from Blake Corum, 38 total carries between the two of them. The Rams completely controlled this game.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they did whatever they wanted to do on offense. It was kind of the perfect performance from that point of view. They're also, it's kind of fascinating because you've got Kyron Williams, who's really good, Blake Corum, who's now seeing a larger work role and a split in that backfield. You've got the 2 receivers, as long as they're both out there and healthy, and we'll see with Puka Nacua. But Puka Nacua is amazing. Devontae Adams is still able to cook. And then once you get beyond them, they're then also now folding in all 3 tight ends to this offense. They've gone from, we only run 11 personnel and 3 wide receivers, and that's what we do here in the McVay Academy, to now we've got these 2 really good receivers, and we're going to throw multiple tight ends at you. And so Terrence Ferguson, Tyler Higbee, and Colby Parkinson all had multiple catches in the game. And everything they did worked. I mean, it's kind of a fascinating offense now.
Yeah, they are adding rookie second rounder Terrence Ferguson, into the vertical passing attack, 54 yards on his 2 receptions. I love watching the Rams evolve offensively. And if you felt like, if you were watching this game or watching it in passing and felt like, it feels like the Rams always have the ball. Well, they did. Our friend Nick Underhill, who was on the show last week breaking down the Saints and their quarterback decision, as he tweeted yesterday, the Saints held the ball for 16 minutes and 7 seconds. Their 16:07 time of possession was the 13th lowest in NFL history. That's history, right? If you're in the bottom 15,
that is history
in time of possession in NFL history. I don't know how far back this goes, if this is to the merger or if it's back to 1920. 16 minutes. So Tyler Shuck in his debut, what did you see? I don't know. I only saw him for a half. We only got to see a half of Tyler Shuck, essentially. And by the way, that time of possession number was really only with 1 turnover. The Saints lost a fumble.
Landman.
They threw the Landman punch, man. Landman, he had the big one against the Texans earlier this year too, right?
Yeah, I mean, they were already up 17 at that point, and then get the peanut punch on Kamara.
So they had that turnover. And then Shuck throws a fourth down interception. So 2 technical turnovers. But like the time of possession thing was really a bunch of 3 and outs for the Saints. The Rams controlling the ball.
I think Charles Peanut Tillman should be in the Hall of Fame just because of revolutionizing defense with the peanut punch.
Just for the punch.
It's not like he was the first person to ever do it. Like, it's not like it took until Charles Tillman before people thought, hey, what if I force the ball out as a fumble? As a design strategy as opposed to just accidental byproduct of making a tackle. But I think he was the first guy to genuinely weaponize it. And it's called the peanut punch. I mean, people, every time it happens on a broadcast, they refer to it as a peanut punch because of Charles Tillman. Even if he had been a terrible cover corner, which he wasn't. He was a really good player back in his day going up against some elite receivers in that division. If he had been a perfectly average, nondescript corner, I think you could make a strong case to put him in the Hall of Fame just because of changing the game with this peanut punch revolution on defense. But for a guy that was a good corner to have that in addition, I think this guy's got a strong Hall of Fame case, and
I like that.
Let's put him in there.
I like that. You're big, so you must be an Eli in the Hall. If you can't tell the story of the NFL without the peanut punch.
So I hate that people use that all the time as this like benchmark for the Hall of Fame. Can you tell the story of the NFL without this player? And the answer to that is always yes, depending on how long the story is, right? You can tell the story of the NFL without anybody. You just has to be a shorter story. Like in my opinion, it's an extremely stupid way of judging whether somebody's worthy of the Hall of Fame or not. But I do think that if you if you can count amongst your accolades or put on your resume that the game changed because of what you did, that's very strong Hall of Fame case worthy, right? There are a bunch of very good players that did not really leave a mark on the NFL. NFL was broadly the same after they were in it than it was before they were in it, right? They just had a good career during which nothing changed. There are not that many players that came in and what they did in their career fundamentally changed the way everybody played the game, right? Like Bob Hayes, people basically invented zone coverage because Bob Hayes was so goddamn fast you couldn't cover a man-on-man, right? You know, there were players like that where the game is different after they left than when they arrived. Charles Tillman changed the game because he showed that, you know what, there's a way of tackling where you can come in and punch the football and still make a tackle and not have it as a risk. And so suddenly you've got defenses now punching the ball out every game because they've seen how effective it is.
I like it. I think it's a compelling case. Compelling case for the peanut punch.
Charles to Canton. Let's go.
Start the campaign. It's right up the road. We could go set up outside the Hall of Fame up in Canton.
With a picket sign. Let's go.
Get him in there.
Literally chain ourselves to their wall or whatever.
Matthew Stafford, man, he's playing really well, by the way. In this wide open MVP race, Stafford in there again. I love the way they're using Devontae Adams in the red zone. Just to reiterate, they had a quick slant and they had a fade to Devontae Adams. It is simple, but really effective when you have a guy that's that clean as a route runner to be able to just get him isolated, condense the formation, put him out there. It might be to the point where teams have to put two people out there on Adams like they used to do for Calvin Johnson, like they do for certain plays. Because good luck. Good luck stopping it. Rams are they're cooking offensively. All right. Anything else on that one?
No, I mean...
We didn't talk about Tyler Shuck a whole lot, but...
I don't think he saw an awful lot from Tyler Shuck to say that this is going to spark the offense or that anything particularly productive is going to happen. That being said, it's not like he... they were overmatched with that defensive line going up against the Saints offensive line. Rashid Shaheed made a couple of nice plays. Chris Olave makes a couple... he's got weapons to work with. It's just, I don't know that you're going to get enough out of it.
The interception, as I said, he kind of chucked it up on fourth down, desperation.
I don't think it was necessarily a ringing endorsement that we saw like a Taysom Hill package unveiled for the first time in a serious way this season. Like that's a crutch. That's not like I have a huge amount of faith in my offensive quarterback.
Just trying to win the game, man.
Yeah, but you didn't do that when you're not putting Taysom Hill out there as a serious part of this offense if you think that Tyler Shuck is the dude. Now,
Taysom Hill.
I know they took Drew Brees off the field to put Taysom Hill out there, but I'm just saying now that's not happening in 2025 if you have tremendous confidence in your quarterback.
Leading rusher Taysom Hill with 30 yards for the Saints.
Yeah. Dude's still a baller.
I was going to call an audible. Do you want to go Sunday night football game first and then finish with Chiefs-Bills?
I don't care.
You don't really care. It doesn't really matter. Okay, let's go Chiefs-Bills. It's next on the list. I'll just follow the list.
You should follow the order.
Buffalo Bills get the win over the Chiefs. 28-21. Bills move to 6-2. Chiefs fall to 5-4. The old game of the year, CBS special game. They'll love it dead smack in the middle of the season. Another great game. Bills played so clean offensively. Josh Allen, 23 of 26 for 273. That's over 10 yards per attempt. Had a touchdown. Also had 2 rushing touchdowns. James Cook had 114 yards on the ground. Buffalo's offense, unbelievably efficient. But I think it's their defense did a really nice job against Kansas City's offense and slowed them down for the first time in weeks.
That snapped a streak of, I think, 23 straight games or something that the Chiefs had not given up a 100-yard rusher.
Yeah. Cook didn't get 100 in the AFC Championship? Is that one of those?
It might be one of those only regular season records that annoy everybody when they come up.
Yeah, so now I got to check.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack in this one. No, Cook only had 85 in the AFC Championship.
Then maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Now it's just unknown. Now we don't know if it's a regular
just a big unknown.
Yeah.
Always a lot to discuss in this game, but where do you want to start?
You can start. I think it was the right result, and I think, if anything, the score flattered Kansas City a little bit. Buffalo, I think, was the better team on both sides of the ball. They looked great they looked great on both sides of the ball. It also occurred to me during this game that, this slightly weird way that the Bills' offense is constructed with slot receivers everywhere and multiple tight ends and no real X on the outside. It's to beat the Chiefs. Like, this offense is designed to exploit weaknesses in the Kansas City defense, where that's a really good defense overall. However, they do have multiple lumbering linebackers that can't really cover in space, or certainly can't run with athletic players over the middle. And it's like, the Bills are built for that. Like, everything where you're like, why do they have all these players in the same spot? It's because that's where Kansas City's weak.
Yeah.
And they showed up. James Cook looked great. Josh Allen looked great. And then all of those guys over the middle. Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, Dawson Knox with the play, Elijah Moore with the play. All of these guys over the middle are suddenly being asked to, like, Nick Bolton's trying to cover them, or Leo Chanel. And it's like, they can't do that.
Dalton Kincaid looks awesome this season. 6 catches for 101 for him, including a 47-yarder. He got free early for the first touchdown on the opening drive. I thought the Bills, Joe Brady, the play calling, their offense has not been the issue when they lose to the Chiefs in the playoffs. Like, yeah, there's always like a play here and there, but the offense has generally moved the ball. It's been defensive issues, right? But the offense in this game, I thought when they were running the ball effectively, so they ran the ball effectively overall. Once Kansas City started overcommitting to the run, it was like, boom, play action, roll out, move the pocket. It was just a beautiful game flow, I thought, from Buffalo from a play calling standpoint, using all those tight ends, getting Shakir in space, making the Chiefs tackle. You're right. I mean, the Chiefs do a good job creating tight window throws against outside receivers down the field, right? Challenging outside type of receivers, bigger receivers, and creating low percentage opportunities if you're trying to throw the ball vertically. They're not as good when you spread them out, put them in space. And I thought Buffalo they stayed on schedule really well, so they stayed out of the, Spags is in his bag plays. They didn't have to deal with that as much, not a ton of 3rd and longs. And so they did a really nice job. They also did a really nice job, I think, managing the clock overall. I thought the timeout usage was really interesting. I'm not saying it was good from Buffalo, but it was almost like they said, we would rather use a timeout to get the right play. 4th downs. Like, they used one before a kick, before a field goal for Kansas City. I think that's bad use of one. But they did it before. They did it with like 20 seconds left in the first half as the Chiefs were driving. And just to get set up, and they actually ended up making the goal line stand against Kansas City. That was a huge part of the game.
Yeah.
So I thought Buffalo did a lot right. The end of the game was – talk about the end of the game sequence and a lot of other stuff here too. But I think starting with Buffalo's offense, they just did a really nice job using all their playmakers, keeping Kansas City off balance, and really dominated on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, they put up 400 yards. I think you're right to sort of say, look, generally speaking, Buffalo's offense does do pretty well against Kansas City. And I think, honestly, the thing to highlight is the other side of the ball, which is this is different. The Buffalo's defensive performance was different in this game than they've typically had against Kansas City. And in part, it's their athletic playmakers made a real difference. I mean, Cole Bishop had an insane game in this game. And Cole Bishop, like, the thing that he brings to the table is high-end athleticism relative to safeties that have been in this defense previously. And then Maxwell Hairston makes a huge difference to this defense. Like, they have, 4.21 speed of Xavier Worthy, fastest man in NFL history over the 40. Maxwell Hairston gave him a free release off the line, running a vertical 9 route, and just ran with him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many people in the NFL can do that, but it's not many. And Hairston was drafted arguably just for that purpose. Like, you're a guy that runs 4.28. We need you in a division or against an opponent that has a 4.21 receiver. Let's saddle up. We don't have one of those guys at the moment. We need one. Let's go. And Hairston looked great.
Everything about this Chiefs-Bills matchup is so fun. And what you just said, Hairston, we joked on draft night, like, he runs in the 4.3s. You draft him to cover Xavier Worthy, right? He did it on that go ball that was slightly underthrown, but he was there step for step. He had the interception when Mahomes heaved it up late in the game. And you have Christian Benford on the other side. So all of a sudden you've got corners like Tre'Davious White got cooked early in the game. you probably don't want Tre'Davious White at this time of his career covering Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice. You don't want that. But Hairston and Benford can do it. And so every year we ask the question, okay, the Bills win the regular season game. Can they do it in the playoffs? How do you bottle this up and do it in the playoffs? And you have to be honest, like the injuries made a huge impact the last 2 years. 2 years ago in the divisional round game, the Bills were completely depleted, missing 5 or 6 starters on the defensive side of the ball. And then last year, Benford goes down early. And
almost immediately.
Like the first drive, right, for the Chiefs. If they have the outside corners, they can make plays, right? And so we're going to see this number. I don't know if you want to put up the stat. Next Gen Stats has the Bills pressured Patrick Mahomes on 52.6% of his dropbacks. That's over 14% higher than their pressure rate on any of their other 9 matchups against the Chiefs since 2020. Mahomes was 3 of 16 for 61 yards and a pick when pressured. When we hear pressure, we almost immediately think pass rush. Mm-hmm. In this game, it wasn't so much a dominant pass rush. It was a good, efficient, lane disciplined pass rush. It was the back 7, man. The Bills did a really nice job taking away the downfield throws the Chiefs are trying to dial up. They hit a couple. Like the Chiefs hit a couple. It was very boomer bust type of offense. But I think the meshing of the coverage unit and the pass rush from the Bills was outstanding. And they took away 1 and 2, created just enough hesitancy to let the rush get there, and then combined with a couple rushes like Joey Bosa did a really nice job and got home.
Yeah, but they also, they turned Patrick Mahomes stylistically into Caleb Williams. Like Patrick Mahomes, his average time to throw in the game was like 3.2 seconds, and his average depth of target was like 15 yards downfield.
15.
So Mahomes is just out here like not just big game hunting, but looking for all of it. And every now and again he gets one, like the 4th and 17 conversion. But from pretty early in the game, Mahomes is out here just trying to make, like he's all or nothing. He's just out here looking for the kill shot over the top. Like there was one play that got negated. It was like a big 3rd down. They're like, Mahomes the guy that can make this play. And he's just like heaving it 50 yards deep into double coverage. And then I think the play gets negated and they, you go again. But it's like, even if you look at that chart, like it's shotgun, scatter shot all over the field. Like there's no rhyme or reason as to where we're going with this. Look at that. I mean, that's not, it's not like a rational, drawn up game plan. That's just Mahomes trying to hit random people that he sees.
And that's the opposite of what Mahomes just did to, say, the Raiders a couple weeks ago when they had that uber efficient game and it's like everything's underneath and it's quick hitters and they didn't have that. And I know we always bring up, hey, the Chiefs, they save the good plays for the playoffs. They pulled out the good plays in this game. Their first touchdown was Rashee Rice direct snap.
Yeah, their low red zone package is pretty nutty.
Yeah, but even
in a good way.
I want to talk about the 4th and 17. We'll bounce around here. But the 4th and 17 play was just, I thought it was an unbelievable play call and execution by the Chiefs because you're trying to slow down Joey Bosa in the pass rush. We talked earlier about the Bo Nix moving the pocket and then going back against the grain. Mahomes almost like faked the scramble. He faked the rollout to the left, then faked the rollout to the right, and then just sat in the pocket. It was just a genius way. You faked moving the pocket twice, and Joey Bosa just like ran in a circle before a guard came up and a pulling guard blocked him. And so that was what gave Mahomes the clean pocket to hit the 4th and 17. Like that is a play that they usually dial up in the AFC Championship. Fake sprint out left, fake sprint out right, sit in the pocket. Now I've got my clean pocket on a 4th and long, and that's how they executed the 4th and 17, which, by the way, was a 15-point game at that point. And if they don't complete that, it's definitely over, and they got smoked. But that one play kept them in it. They had the Rashee Rice play. They had a beautiful pick play that they set up for one of the receivers down the field. I forget who they hit. I think it was Marquise Brown. They hit him on a couple good ones. So it wasn't like the Chiefs were sleepwalking through this. They were pulling out some of their good stuff. I just think overall, outside of a couple plays defensively for the Bills, they were outstanding at taking away what the Chiefs were trying to do.
They beat them man on man. I mean, they won up front with the pass rush. Joey Bosa had an amazing game. He had a play where he just absolutely blew past Jaelan Moore on the offensive line. He had a huge game for them. Gregory Rousseau had a really good game. We already talked about Maxwell Harrison, Cole Bishop. Like, they just had playmakers that were consistently making plays throughout that defense. And yeah, look, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, they have so many weapons, and they are so good on offense that they're going to get some plays even on 4th and 17. And when you're big game hunting the way they were, if you get a couple of those, you flip the game immediately. I mean, this went from Buffalo's in control, this should be a relatively comfortable win, to 4th and 17 is converted, then they get a touchdown, then they get 2 points to Travis Kelce. You're like, oh, wow, this is a one-score game immediately, and we're still in jeopardy down the stretch.
But they still ended up, the Bills, even with Mahomes driving down 7, they still end up making the stops. Those are the times when Mahomes usually comes through, and the Bills defense made those stops. And the other thing that they did, Mahomes only had 1 carry for 5 yards, and the number of times that he had leaned on his scrambling ability. Anytime the pass game is inefficient, Mahomes usually does it with his legs. But I thought the Bills did a nice job. They were mush rushing a little bit. They were doing some everybody standing up at the line of scrimmage. The amoeba defense looks. They'd have Rousseau and Bosa, and then the amoeba in the middle. And I thought they did a really good job with their pass rush lanes and just not letting Mahomes get out of the pocket and not create big plays with his legs. And then they turned it into a low percentage game. And Mahomes hit Kelce on a beautiful throw when he was backed up in his own end zone. He hit a bomb to Marquise Brown twice. He hit the Rashee Rice 4th and 17. So he hit 4 pretty big plays.
Yeah.
But they missed a bunch of those plays, right? So you turned it into a low percentage game when the Chiefs offense the last couple of years has been the high success rate, high percentage game, all the underneath stuff, and then you take a shot over the top. So they made the Chiefs play a low percentage game, and it turned into the lowest completion percentage of Mahomes' career, 15 of 34. That's only 44%. He still hit 250.
Right.
But you turned it into this super low percentage game for Kansas City, and you did it because, like you said at the top, the athletes that the Bills have on defense can stay with the fast receivers of the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs only converted 3 of 13 third downs. One of those they got 4th and 17 later, but they were inefficient on third down because of what Buffalo was doing as well. Injuries ended up being a pretty important part of this game, both in the game and going forward. Juwan Taylor went down, and Wanye Morris had to come in. He got wrecked on that one play where Bosa got really quick pressure on him. The Bills lost Michael Hoyt to a torn Achilles. That's now 2 defensive linemen in the last couple of weeks. Ed Oliver went down with his biceps injury that might only get him back for the first week of the playoffs, if and when they make it. And Oni might get him back then. So that's potentially 2 of those defensive linemen that they've built with this depth and insulation, and to try and stop that happening again, that it happened a couple of years ago, that's getting chipped away at.
And Hoyt was one of the guys that they're using, right? You can move him around.
He'd only just come back from his suspension, but he's made a huge difference in the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, that's a big loss.
All right, 2 things I wanted that just from a game flow perspective. I want to talk about the intentional grounding in a minute, but let's just talk end of the game here. The Bills have the ball. It's 28-21. They're driving to try to run out the clock. They make the decision to not pass, right? You're going to run it, and it's 28-21. You're in field goal range. You have 2 options here. Third down, we're going to run it. You could do a really, really short punt, waste a bunch of time, and try to put it inside the 10 and say, here, Chiefs, you've got 18 to 20 seconds to go the whole distance of the field, need a touchdown, no timeouts. Or you kick a field goal. If you hit it, the game's over.
Yeah.
If you miss it, the Chiefs still need to go 60 yards or whatever to kick, to score a touchdown with no timeouts. But you got 20 seconds, 22 seconds. So they kick the field goal, hits the upright.
Doink.
Right? And this is the type, oh, no, the Bills did it. You gave Mahomes 22 seconds. The Chiefs start the drive, outstanding, a little rollout, pick up 20, and boom, they're at the 40, right? They're there. They're in range to at least attack the end zone a couple times. But Bills held on from there and did a really nice job. Just interesting end of game, and it did give Mahomes and the Chiefs, one last opportunity there.
Yeah, I think it was the right call to kick the field goal, don't you?
Overall, yeah.
It's a 52-yarder. I mean, okay, it's not the best stadium in the world for that, but 52 yards in today's NFL is still pretty comfortable.
But if you miss, you just know you're giving.
Yeah. But
not just
they
Mahomes.
do need a touchdown.
You need a touchdown. But
Yeah.
what I'm going to say is you're giving them at least a shot at the end zone.
Sure.
Right? They'll at least have a Hail Mary at worst. And they were.
I mean, we know, like Mahomes and the Chiefs, even against Buffalo, is capable of moving the ball pretty damn quickly without an awful lot of time on the clock. Yeah, you know that if you miss that, they're probably going to have a shot at it.
So then the intentional grounding call. So it's 3rd and 6. Mahomes gets called for intentional grounding. Turns it into was it 2nd and 6? It would have been 3rd and 6. It turns 3rd and 6 into a 3rd and 16. Right. The ball got tipped, and the refs.
This is not in this sequence. This is just a.
I'm just going back. I'm just going back to the play.
Right.
Right. So the Bills went. Recap the game. Then we'll go talk about what else do you want to do to recap the game.
No, that's it. I'm just making the point that this is not.
This was earlier in the game. This was probably
a segue to a different conversation.
This is probably the turning point in the game. So instead of a 3rd and 6, the Chiefs have a 3rd and 16 or somewhere in that range. He gets sacked the next play.
Yeah.
The Chiefs punt. Bills end up driving down the field to go up 2 scores, 28-13, and that was the turning point in the game. Mahomes throws the ball. He throws the ball away. It's not near any receiver. They talk about it, throw the grounding penalty, and Mahomes is trying to say his arm got hit. The reality was the ball got tipped just enough to make it land in the spot that makes it look like grounding. And then Andy Reid tries to challenge it. They say, you can't challenge that. And then it's just like, sorry, there's nothing challengeable on this play. It's 3rd and 16. Mahomes gets sacked to the next play, and rest is history.
Yeah, a few confusing things about this play. Number one, I have no idea why Mahomes was so convinced that his arm got hit, because I don't think there was anybody anywhere near him at the time.
He may not have even seen it get tipped, you know?
He seemed
and then he was just fighting for something.
It was just strange. He seemed so adamant that his arm was hit, and yet you looked at the replays, and it clearly wasn't. I don't really know why he was so fixated on that. I was amazed they called it grounding in the first place, because it seemed really obvious live that the ball was batted.
It wobbled. It came out of his hand
right. I mean,
wobbly.
I used the term batted initially. It wasn't that
like
strong,
a fingertip.
But it was hit by a defensive lineman, and it came crashing to the turf nowhere near its intended target. I mean, that is a standard ball is batted at the line. It's not grounding. We move on. Instead, they throw a flag, and then you're like, oh, well, okay, don't worry. They'll figure out that it was batted, and then they'll pick the flag up. Only no, that didn't happen. And the things that the NFL decides that our hands are tied. We couldn't possibly fix this, even though we're all looking at a replay right now that shows it's quite clearly a black and white goofed call. Like, that's the classic example of somebody's got to be in their ear and be like, pick the flag up. The ball was tipped. New York, or just a guy looking at a TV screen in the stadium, somebody has got to be able to have the authority to say, this is idiotic to allow this to stand. And the fact that Andy Reid had to throw a challenge flag only to be told, sorry, you can't actually challenge that, it should never have gotten that far.
So you can't challenge the penalty, but when a pass interference occurs, if there's a pass interference, it gets called against the defense. The defensive coach can challenge the play and say, I think that pass got tipped. If it was tipped, the pass interference gets negated. That is allowed to. You can do that, right? I've seen that happen before.
I don't
If you say we think this pass interference is null and void because the pass got tipped, which voids the penalty, we want to see a replay that says pass got tipped, the penalty shouldn't count. That happens on the regular. That's a thing.
Right.
So why can't you challenge the intentional grounding and say we think it got tipped? If it got tipped, of course it's not grounding. And it did. Why can't you challenge that it got tipped?
Number one, you should be able to. Number two, I don't think it matters. We shouldn't be in a situation where you're like, we're all sitting here watching this slow-mo replay of black and white evidence.
I know, we could easily
for
just fix
why
it.
this play is incorrectly called. And we've just decided, I'm sorry, nothing I can do. Why? New York fudges this stuff all the time. Just buzz down and be like, dude, pick the flag up. This is stupid.
Yes. I'm with you, though, too. I don't know why Mahomes was pointing to his arm. It should have been
maybe that wasn't helping. Maybe they're like, if he's lying that much.
He's lying.
He's clearly done something weird at the play.
So anyway, there's always more than one call. I can imagine if it was maybe we would be incredulous the other way, too, if that went the Chiefs' way. But it went against the Chiefs in this game. But I thought that was clearly the turning point in the game. Chiefs made a couple big plays to get back in it, including the 4th and 17, and get within 7 with the 2-point conversion from Mahomes to Kelsey. But even then, Mahomes, he's usually the guy that makes all the right decisions in one-score games when you got to come back. That was a heave of an interception that he threw to Maxwell Hairston. Down 7, right? He usually doesn't make those kinds of decisions. And credit Buffalo for making that play. He just threw it up, and Hairston picked him off in a 7-point game in the 4th quarter.
Yep. Quite an uncharacteristic Mahomes game, I think.
It was. And so for the Chiefs now, if they weren't the Kansas City Chiefs, and I gave you this stat, what would you do? Chiefs are now 1-4 against teams with winning records. They're now 0-4 against teams when they give up 20 or more points. And it's all teams with winning records, good teams. And they're 4-0 against teams who've combined for 10 wins. 4-0 against teams like the Raiders and Commanders and everything. So every time we're like, oh, Chiefs are back, if you go back and look, it's like it's against the Raiders, it's against the Commanders. Really good win against the Lions. That's their only win against a team with winning records. If I said that without knowing the history of the Chiefs, you'd say, well, that's the Cowboys team we always talk about or the Dolphins team we always talk about.
And that's, I think, 5 straight regular season losses against Buffalo, isn't it?
Yes. And so that's my second question, the question we ask every year. If you're Buffalo, great. Okay, now what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? It is just it's just so interesting to me, like with Game 7 of the World Series the other night, Sam, where you properly predicted that a pitcher might come in when he shouldn't.
I just suggested that was the way of doing it.
Football is interesting because in other sports, in the playoffs, you can have completely different strategies in a one-game setting. For instance, the Dodgers using their entire starting rotation. In football, there's not really a strategy change in the playoffs. It's pretty much the same game. Like the NBA, you have load management, and then you have different rotations, and you play your best players more in the playoffs. Baseball, you change the way you use your bullpen, right? There's no real strategy change in the playoffs. But if there were one, the Bills would be looking for, like, how do we beat the Chiefs in the playoffs? And honestly, it might just be as simple as stay healthy.
Yeah.
If Maxwell Hairston and Joey Bosa and those guys, like Bosa hit Mahomes on the play where Hairston picked it off. Like that is like off-season free agent, first-round pick. You got those guys to beat the Chiefs. Maybe it's as simple as just keep them healthy, but that's going to be the next question. How do the Bills have this type of defensive performance in the playoffs against Mahomes and the Chiefs if the Chiefs can get there?
It's a weird game where I don't think, psychologically these are sort of massively important games generally in the NFL season. Like you've got 2 theoretically elite contenders, elite quarterbacks, franchises going toe-to-toe. And you're like, what does that mean? It's a weird game where I don't know that it means anything for either side, right? Kansas City doesn't care that they just lost to Buffalo in the regular season because that happens 5 times in a row now, and they just come back and they beat them in the playoffs. So who knows? Who cares? From Buffalo's point of view, it probably doesn't matter for them either because they always beat Kansas City in the regular season, and then they get to the playoffs and they can't beat them there. So it's a strange game where I don't think that either side necessarily has any impact whatsoever from the result. But it is still notable that, Buffalo looked like the better team by a mile, and that's the way the game went.
And then from Kansas City's perspective, again, they're going to go. They have their bye. They're 5-4. They go to Denver, coming out of the bye, and so you still have Denver twice. They play the Colts, November 23rd, at home. We know the Colts can't play in cold weather, so they should be okay. Texans, Chargers, you still have some really tough games if you're the Chiefs. I still think they make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But we're talking about, maybe a lower seed. The division is absolutely at stake here. They're in 3rd place, and, Denver's 7-2. They got to play the Broncos twice, Chargers one more time.
Yeah, I mean, they're still fine, I think, and I still expect them to make the playoffs. But they are now, if Buffalo and New England keep winning, that's 1 wild card spot taken up. If the Chargers and Denver keep winning, that's potentially another wild card spot taken up. Like you're sort of coming down to that 3rd wild card spot and having to keep ahead of a team like Jacksonville for the entire season. Like it's getting, at least
Can't slip up. You can't slip up anymore.
You're running out of margin for error.
Only a couple more slip-ups allowed here
right.
for the Chiefs for where they want to go. So huge win for the Bills. Credit them the way they the offensive and defensive game plans I thought were outstanding, executed well from Buffalo there.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else
nope.
on that one? All right, Sunday Night Football. Seattle Seahawks 38-14 win over the Commanders. Seahawks move to 6-2. Commanders fall to 3-6. Dominant game from Seattle.
Yeah.
It was 31-7 at the half. Sam Darnold was 16 of 16 with 4 touchdown passes in the first half. He slowed down in the second half. Finishes 21 of 24 for 330. That's 13.8 yards per attempt. 4 touchdowns. Did have a pick in there as well. And then Seattle's defense, just another great job slowing down Washington. Of course, Jaden Daniels also broken arm or dislocated arm.
Dislocated elbow.
Elbow. Yeah. So he's not necessarily out for the season, but very bad injury, ugly injury. And that happened when they were down quite a bit in the 38-7 in the fourth quarter. So obviously some questions about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was an absolute beatdown from start to finish, really. The unfortunate thing from Washington's point of view is that, like, Jaden Daniels was the only positive thing that was happening for Washington at all. And even that was not close to being enough. Like, at one point, he was accounting for some ridiculous percentage of their offensive output. It was basically just he would either scramble or maybe deliver a pass to somebody relatively short. And that was the only thing they had going for them. Meanwhile, deep into the game, Seattle was averaging like 10.5 yards per play. Literally every play they ran, they were getting a first down.
Crazy.
On average, more than a first down. Everything they were doing was working. Washington's secondary is not good to begin with. And the touchdown, one of the touchdowns to Torrey Horton, it's like, how did he end up one-on-one with no safety when the safety was there? It's because the safety's just looking at JSN. He's like, they've decided we're going to try and take away JSN, which itself didn't work, right? 8 catches for 129 yards on 9 targets. So it's not like even that part of it was successful. But like the safety on that side of the field is only focusing on JSN to the degree where they just let Torrey Horton like run right by Mikey Sandersville and score. That's like that. I mean, this is just terrible defense.
And then you have the touchdown that Sam Darnold threw to Elijah Arroyo up the seam, which I thought was a great throw. And I didn't know if the broadcast was going to see it, but Chris did point it out. He goes, that wasn't the open guy. If you look at the bottom of the screen, JSN smoked Trey Amos. And Amos came out multiple times with an injury. I don't know if that was affecting him, but JSN was wide open for a walk-in touchdown there. So easily could have had, 9 for 140 or whatever. And a score. So, yeah, everything Seattle did,
and that
Washington
touchdown,
had no answer.
The Arroyo touchdown came after Washington fumbles a kick return. It's
right.
Like everything's going against Washington here.
Right. So, Seattle completely dominated.
They false started on a 4th and 1 that they were going to go for because they needed to, and that backed them up. They had to kick it away. Then Seattle scores again. You're like, now it's 28-0 with still like 5 minutes left in the first half.
Ty Okada had a really nice
Amazing
interception when Jaden Daniels threw it. He's just Seattle has added Eamon and his athleticism to the secondary over the last few weeks. Okada's really
power.
Yes.
That play where he ran through Treylon Burks.
Treylon
Burks is 225 pounds. Treylon Burks is 6'2", 225, and Nick Eamon ran through him like he was a blocking sled, and on his way through, grabbed hold of the screen player and took him to the ground. Like, that's an absolutely crazy play.
So between him, Okada, and he's a really athletic player. They've just got some athletes on the back 7, fierce front 4, do a really nice job, stunts, twists, creating indecision up front. And when we talk like what the Bills did, meshing their pass rush and their coverage unit, that is a Mike McDonald staple. Those types of defenses, the McDonald Minter type of defenses, and Seattle is executing it at an extremely high level. Plus, Washington's beat up. They have Treylon Burks, taking significant reps at wide receiver right now. So they're hurting right now, and it's from a Washington perspective, from a team building perspective. We talked about, hey, they probably overachieved last year. They went all in with the Laramie Tunsils and Deebo Samuels of the world. They don't have a lot of draft capital next year. They didn't have a lot of draft capital this year. It's an interesting spot. Just throwing the season out. They're 3-6 right now with a hurt Jaden Daniels. Looking ahead, it might be tough for Washington, who went all in for this season, and they're not getting their reward.
And they brought it up on the broadcast last night. The biggest problem is they're the oldest team in the NFL by a significant margin. This is not a team that's sort of demographically designed around a young quarterback. This is a team that suddenly has a young quarterback and is like, oh, let's bring in all the veterans and win right now. Like, this is not a long-term sustainable type of roster. They need to get younger fast.
Of course, people are bringing up Jaden Daniels gets hurt with about 7 minutes left in a 38-7 game. Should he have been in the game? Normally I don't care because it happens all the time. Then a guy gets hurt 1 out of 50 games, and so if you're going to be upset about that, you have to have the same level of being upset.
I mean, it has to be a policy then that any time the game gets remotely out of control, you pull everybody. Because otherwise you're risking this.
And you can't. It's football. You can't pull everybody. Starters have to play.
So you're risking
you
somebody.
don't have enough players.
Right. So you're risking somebody through this type of injury by leaving them in the game late again in a game that's been done for a half.
My only thing with Daniels, though, this is now the 3rd injury this season. And the 5th in the last 2 years or 4th in the last 2 years. I mean, he has dealt with injury issues. You could call this a freak injury, whatever, but he ran the ball 10 times, got sacked 4 more times. He does take a lot of hits. And we always talk about QB's health. It's not just a frame perspective. It's a playing style perspective. And do you take a ton of hits? And then, some guys seem to be more durable than others. Like Wentz gets hit a lot and he gets hurt a lot. Josh Allen gets hit a lot. He doesn't get hurt a lot. So I think you have to know who you have. Anthony Richardson gets hurt a lot, gets hit a lot, right? So you have to know who you have. And so I think it's a case-by-case basis. If you have a quarterback, like Brady used to stay until the end all the time. They'd go quick pass game, get rid of it, and he would generally stay. He's not going to go run and lower his shoulder in a game.
But that's a difference.
I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying Jaden Daniels did that. I'm just saying stylistically your quarterback, know who your stylistic quarterback is, and then you make the best decision based off that.
The way he was playing the game in this game relative to, a guy like Brady who would stay in and play that way is, I think, significant in terms of making that decision to pull him out or not. Like we said before that it was like he was the only guy, he was trying to do it all by himself, right? And he had to because he was the only guy capable of making any plays for Washington in this game. But late in the game, we're like, there's no plays to be made. I mean, he's trying to do this all by himself, and even if he does, we're going to lose by 15. Like, what's the point here? And you are risking getting hurt because of the way he's playing and trying to do it all by himself and trying to outrun a guy at the goal line and try and fight through a tackle. Like,
when you have receivers who can't get open against a great defense, there's a lot adding up that says maybe he shouldn't have been in there.
Given the way he was playing, I think you can make a much stronger argument than a lot of quarterbacks to say, look, let's just get him out of here and protect him from himself.
Now, obviously, it's easy in hindsight. If you wouldn't have the same reaction if one play didn't happen, right? You wouldn't have the same reaction. But, tough one. So it's a dislocated elbow for Daniels. Not necessarily season-ending, but we're sitting here in week 9. They're 3-6, unless they sneak, and they have a tough schedule coming up. And so,
I mean, I would imagine they are viewing the season as done at this point.
I would think so.
But I would think if they're not, that's a mistake.
From Seattle's perspective, just love what they've built. Thought their defense had a ton of potential this year. I thought it was interesting that Chris brought up to Mike McDonald, what happened in Tampa Bay? Because remember, they got cooked by Tampa Bay's offense. And Mike's don't want to talk about it. Almost embarrassed by it. But, since that point, they've been
the defense was
lights
amazing.
Out.
Yeah, the defensive line was dominant. Leonard Williams looks fantastic. We already talked about Nick Imanwari. They talked about it on the broadcast. Riq Woolen has been benched because of the play of guys like Josh Jobe. Those guys are fantastic. Riq Woolen came in because the game was so out of control. Okay, he got flagged for a taunting penalty.
With injury too.
Right. And he got flagged for a taunting penalty, but he had a sequence of 3 or 4 back-to-back plays where he was delivering hits and shutting down screens and the short stuff that Washington wanted to run as well. And, they brought up this is a Pro Bowl player or a guy with a Pro Bowl on his resume. Guys languishing on the bench as, problem players in this defense or guys that were not seen as good enough anymore are now available as depth players for the Seahawks defense. They are in a really good spot.
Yeah, they've built impressive depth on the lines in the secondary. Ernest Jones did get hurt for Seattle, just something to keep an eye on there because he's been
rolled up on.
Yeah, he's been an impact player for them since trading for him last year. So Seattle's 6-2. They've got. Do they have the Rams next week? Or is that 2 weeks from now? I'm sorry. They have the Cardinals and then the Rams. I cannot wait for Seahawks-Rams.
Yeah.
They nothing against the Niners. Still sitting here at 6-3. But Seahawks-Rams, it's going to be quite a battle in the NFC West. Both teams looking great right now.
Yeah, it's like the haves or the have-nots in some divisions in the NFL. Like there's a few divisions where almost like 3 of the 4 teams look really good.
Yeah, it's going to be a good finish in the NFC West, NFC North. Really competitive right now. Those Bears. How about those Bears? Bears fans inundating the studio here, all over the place. It's great on a Victory Monday.
Victory Monday.
Anything else?
No,
As we hit the
nice tight
3 hour,
yeah,
the 3 hour mark.
it's a good tight show.
Calibrated to 3 hours. Doesn't matter if they're all blowouts or all close games. We didn't miss any games. Remember the
Hopefully
Titans?
not.
Remember the Titans this week? Sometimes you forget. We go live tonight. If we could watch the game, I might watch Gamecast. I might hold out and not give ESPN my money until they.
Maybe you'll have to do it with the drive chart with the cartoon. Moving the football thing.
I'm gonna be
You just
watching
have to watch it by text.
Our recaps could be like Jacoby Brissett, who I believe is starting, throws a 20-yard pass. I imagine it was caught.
Right.
I don't know how well. It could have been a one-handed catch for all I know. I had to explain carriage disputes to my kids this weekend. It's just, Harry likes to wake up on a Saturday, watch game day.
Yeah. Where did ESPN go?
Where is it? And I said, we're holding out for
about that.
We need your ratings to tank for at least a week so you guys learn a lesson.
Well, if you want the channel back, you have to call this number, apparently.
Jeez.
Let them know.
Give you a website where you can go complain on behalf of Disney.
Right. But then working against that is if it's done for a random period of time that they deem as significant, you get $20 back. So I don't know what to root for anymore.
This is when Vince McMahon tried to make it seem like he was the underdog against billionaire Ted Turner. He's like, billionaire Ted's got all this money. I'm just little old
Just a
Vince
little guy. Yeah.
trying to compete in this wrestling market. And then he won.
Poor old Disney.
So Disney's probably going to win in the end here. And we're all going to pay more money. So we'll see. We'll probably have an instant reaction today for Monday Night Football if we decide to fork over $10 more and watch the game. Cowboys, Cardinals tonight. Instant reaction. Plug the memberships one more time.
Go click on the join button, see the membership options available. We've got 3 different tiers, second of which, the middle tier, the insider tier, gets your name on the wall of the studio. The Howard Hughes billionaire tier, you can rename the studio, like the one guy
We're ready for someone to rename this thing. We're ready.
Still waiting for Neil. He's busy trying to come up with a good name that is socially acceptable to put out there. He hasn't done it yet.
And hit subscribe, do all the things. And then last thing, do you have any takes on the World Series? The Dodgers back-to-back.
Well, it turns out that my strategy was correct all along, and you ridiculed it. You mocked it as a farcical suggestion, and that's exactly what the Dodgers did, and that apparently won them Game 7. So maybe you should listen to my baseball takes more often.
Did I say you can't come back for Game 7? You used your entire staff in Game 7.
You ridiculed the idea. I was like, when did Shohei pitch? Now, I know it wasn't him that came back, but you were like, I was like, when did he pitch? And you were like, a couple of days ago. And you're like, so he's not going to pitch this? And you're like, no, that's ridiculous.
Yes, you were suggesting that he start every game.
I said
that's
for
ridiculous.
Game 7, you play your best players.
Shohei came back on short rest to start, and then they just rotated through their starters. The most amazing thing was Yamamoto coming back on no day's rest, 96 pitches the night before, and he basically throws 3 innings. That's unreal.
Right. You're like, there's no way that could possibly happen going forward because there's no season left. It's Game 7. It's do or die. Play the good people.
I know, but you got nothing left. Like if you throw 96 pitches, you have nothing in your arm.
Apparently he did.
He did. He's thrown 93-mile-an-hour splitters. That's unbelievable.
Maybe
that's why they won.
Maybe the whole thing has just been like fabricated. This idea of like NBA players, we're going to load manage them. Michael Jordan says, just go out there and play the game.
Just go play. They get the force play at home. Inches away from the Blue Jays winning the World Series.
Yeah.
You got Rojas hitting a game-tying home run. Dude can't even hit. It's a game-tying home run in the 9th. That was a worse slider than I've ever thrown. Thing got smoked. Anyway, wild World Series. Glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
All right, thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again tonight. And then on Wednesday, more Check the Mic.